Here we go. Welcome back to another Ab Weekly Report with hockey coach Francis directly for the beautiful country of Thailand on amazing great Sunday night, March 2nd, 2025. Hopefully, an amazing great weekend. Of course, if you have watched the game last night, Montreal Canadiens beat the Buffalo Sabres by the score 4-2. And that's going to talk about this tonight, about the Montreal Canadiens recap game. We can review the week of the Montreal Canadiens with a great week of 3-0-0. We'll talk about the possibility to make the playoff. And fun news around the Montreal Canadiens and, of course, the NHL, because this is the week of the end of the trade deadline and already a couple of trade happening during the day yesterday. And then we'll talk about all those trades happening. We're also talking about one prospect from the Montreal Canadiens. Some of them have a really good week. Laval Rocket, a very good week also. So we have a lot of things to talk about. And of course, a weekly report is not happen only by myself. We have two great co-hosts talk about hockey, bring a great knowledge about hockey, and they are with me again tonight. They are sit at the green room, wait for the open up the door, and they come to the desk. And they are directly from Toronto and directly from Nova Scotia. I'm talking Mr. Enrotap and Devin are back in the house tonight.
What's up, gang? What's
Hello,
up, Coach? Good to see you.
Devin.
Welcome both of you. Yeah. And like we do at the beginning, we're asking you what's happening to you on the weekend, Mr. Enrotap. Are you watching baseball? Are you watching hockey? Are you watching curling, rugby, whatever happening? And what happening also with
only
about
hockey
in Toronto downtown?
Yeah, right now only about hockey. Like this is the exciting part of the year as we get close to the trade deadline, and then after the playoffs are coming up, and boy, do we have some nice races shaping up both in the East and the West. Especially in the West right now. Oh, well, the East, of course, we know what's happening. But in the West, we thought it would be between, look like Vancouver and Calgary. But there's a couple teams now that have snuck into that picture. So we'll see how that ends up. But it'll be exciting.
You're right about that. Here in Nova Scotia. What's going on over there, Mr. Devin?
Lots of hockey here, too. Michael Hage on Thursday night and Friday night. Ivan Demidov this morning. Montreal Canadiens on Saturday night. Thursday night, Montreal Canadiens. There's just lots of hockey. The weather has been pretty good here in Halifax, so no complaints that way. But yeah, just watching lots of hockey, doing lots of shows up until 2 a.m. Coach, I'm feeling for you. I know how you feel now with all these 3 or 4 times a week up until 2 a.m. and trying to get up. The next morning, it's a slog, but it's fun. I love talking to the people and love watching the hockey.
Best time of the year to talk about hockey, of course. March coming, so the trade deadline, big week for the NHL team to figure out what you need to do to add some players to try to make the playoff spot 7-8. Now, for the last month, we talked only about the Eastern Conference, and the Western Conference was all about only Calgary and Vancouver. But now we have to add a couple of teams like Utah and the St. Louis Blues. The Blues losing big game right now, 4-3. If you watch that game, it's really physical between both of them. It's a playoff game for the St. Louis Blues, so great game to watch. And that's going to happening more and more for the next couple of weeks because many teams are involved or in the mix to make the playoffs. So we'll see happenings on the week. At the end, we're going to be live Friday for the trade deadline. So join us live. We have a couple of co-hosts, maybe Devin and Enrotap and Marco's going to join me at the end of the trade deadline. So I can wait to talk about hockey, of course, with all of them. But before we start, we welcome all of you. Thanks to be a part of the show tonight. This is a weekly report of the Montreal Canadiens every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We have Mr. Billy and Harry in the house. Billy, hopefully an amazing, great weekend, ready to rock and roll. What about Larry? Sit at home in Arizona with the great weather and enjoy the time to be with us. So Larry, great to have you aboard. What about Evan Alexander back in the house today? Boston lost today. You're absolutely about this. The New York Rangers are winning right now again in Nashville Predator, but it's okay. Sebastian number 2 back in the house tonight. Hopefully You know, Sébastien, have a great weekend of the steak. Followed by LDP from Newfoundland. Welcome back at LDP. I know the feeling, LDP, but it's okay. Don't worry. It'll be fine. You have one more chance tomorrow night to see your Sabres, at least to try to beat the Montreal game for the first time and 4 attempts. We have, of course, Gary Connery, the best driver around the world. Beep Beep is in the house tonight. Welcome back, Gary. Hopefully, you had an amazing good weekend with your family. What about Mr. Pizza, back again in the house? Salut, mon Pizza. Merci d'être avec nous ce soir. On te remercie aussi pour toutes les contributions que tu fais au channel with the super chat. Steve Bélanger, welcome in the house. Steve Bélanger from, I don't know, Steve, but hopefully you're going to tell us where you're coming from. I think it's the first time you're in the chat. When I see Steve Bélanger, I'm thinking about Eric Bélanger. Eric Bélanger. Billy, back again. Gary also. We have Harry. We have anybody else? Luc Fortin, welcome back. Luc, hopefully an amazing, great weekend. Luc, thanks to be with us. Audrey Calabro, the news update schedule is back in the house. We gave us all the score already. Calgary Flames lost again. 3 loss for the Calgary Flames. We expect that. The Pittsburgh lost 6-5 against Toronto Maple Leafs. Sandman back in the house. We have the man of the man. Charles from Scotland back in the house. Charles, think about you yesterday. Said we just see Charles right there. Larry Lavalley knocked the door with a super shot number 1 tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Larry Lavalley is in the house. You did it again.
Woo!
Larry with a super chat number 1 tonight. Thanks so much, Larry, to join us tonight. And of course, to give us that super chat. Very kind of you to do that, to contribute at the Hockey National Show. Zev Lecav is with us tonight. Thanks to be up with us tonight. You talk about, I don't know what is this. I don't know why this is there, but it looked like he is there and there. But we'll see. Peter Pensano is in the house tonight. Welcome back, Peter. Hopefully, you had an amazing good weekend. Glad to see you. And Charles, like I said, Martin Besnet de retour avec nous. From where? From Waterloo. Martin Besnet, long time. We have Anonymous is with us tonight. Anonymous maybe come somewhere, Martin Zap, we don't know. So watch your backyards. He could be behind. And Marco Larabé knocked the door tonight. Welcome back. And Marco will be with us Tuesday night. The notebook is changing this week because we're going to do the Laval Rocket Wednesday night. So Tuesday night, we're going to do the notebook with Marco Larabé. He's going to talk about more about the trade deadline. We'll go a couple of days before that. Christian Shaw, welcome back in the house tonight. Christian, hopefully an amazing good weekend. We have a couple of more people. And from Alaska, Ryan in the house tonight. So we have all the people around the world. Glad to see all of you tonight. Of course, we'll talk about something about the NHL. First of all, Mr. Enrotap and Devin, going to talk about what happened yesterday. And we have a couple trade deadline open for business. Honestly, it's happening yesterday. I'm going to talk about what you think about that situation yesterday. First of all, Chicago, the Florida Panthers make a big trade. They send Zed Jones plus a 2026 4-round pick. And in return, they got Spencer Knight, a goaltender, 13 overall pick or 12 overall pick. And 2019, then plus a 2026 first-round pick. And the Chicago retained $2.5 million for the next couple of years until 2030. So I'll go down with Enrotap on that one. Give us your rating about that trade from A to D for each team.
Well, I think it's a trade that kind of benefits both teams. To be honest with you, Coach, we know Seth Jones' feelings. He made him quite public at one of his interviews that he wanted to be traded, and that he didn't say that. He said he was tired of losing and would welcome a trade, and his wish became fruition here. So, good pickup for Florida. Gives the defense a good puck handler with size and physicality. For Chicago, I thought it was a good idea because they're getting a little bit more in line with what a rebuild is. Bringing in Spencer Knight. Hopefully, he turns out to be the goaltender that everybody had him projected for. And he had one really good year, but then the following year it was a little bit dicey. Went down to the minors, and this year he wasn't getting much of a chance behind Bobrovsky, that's for sure. So hopefully he gets the opportunity, and he definitely will in Chicago's. And then the picks. I mean, a first round pick from Florida is not a high pick, but it's a first nevertheless, and it's a good pickup for them. And it's not this year; it's next year. And Chicago retains some money as well. So overall, I think it's one of those deals that kind of benefits both teams.
Devin?
Yeah, I think you're right. And it seems to be a kind of deal that helps everybody. It helps both teams. It helps the players, right? Seth Jones gets a new place to play. Spencer Knight gets to hopefully get some starts and get in the lineup and play some hockey after some tough years for him as well. Hopefully Seth Jones will be able to find his form a little bit. He obviously, obviously he was tired of losing, but I think he also hasn't really been performing. I think it's not a secret that he hasn't lived up to his contract in Chicago, and maybe that'll change a little bit in Florida. It'll be interesting to see where they put him in the lineup in Florida. Is he, where does he slide into their defensive core, and what kind of responsibility and what kind of expectations are on him? I think part of the problem with getting a $9.5 million contract is that there's a lot of expectations that come with that, and I don't know that Seth Jones was up to those expectations. And if he goes somewhere where the expectations might be a little bit more reasonable, then maybe he can do a little bit better. And obviously being on a winning team, surrounded by all of those guys, will probably be to his benefit as well. So I think you're right. I think this is one of those trades where obviously I think we'll probably have to wait a little while to see how it pans out for everybody. But in the early stages, it looks like it benefits everybody.
Right about that, the both of you. I think a short term Florida winning, a long term, I think it could be Chicago. I think because if it's like the remember like the trade Subban and Weber, it was fixed.
Weber.
There was fixed right there, both team, right situation. But that one for me, it's more about the long term versus the short term. Um, and that's another point what Marco said early. Like it's an insurance about Aaron Ekblad. I think Ekblad don't go nowhere. I think that's the kind of player we see in the Florida Panthers. A
Yeah.
lower price, by the way. I not be surprised if Ekblad signed contract 5 years at $7 million. That's it. He will not go over that. He make a ton of already money at early age. He got a long contract for the Panthers at early age, and Ekblad is maybe the icon and Florida for with Barkov. I know that time was Huberdeau, but they trade Huberdeau. But I think Ekblad he become more another defenseman with many injuries, like 3 years back to back with a broken leg, the knee, and the foot. If you remember those time, he become very better. He adjusts himself. He understands that's going to score 15, 20 goals anymore. He's not the power play number one. Monto took it earlier. So this is great for the Florida Panthers at short term. They're going to use the money of the Matthew Tkachuk anyway. And then I think they're going to keep Ekblad around. So this is a good move by Bill Zito. Zito is a little bit the Brisebois at the last couple of years now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have to give credit for him. And then for Davidson, I think they make a risk on Spencer Knight. Spencer Knight, if you remember, he was the goalie number one for the team USC program. I think he went to Boston College like Jacob Fuller, right?
Yes, he did.
I think that's
And
right, yeah.
he was drafted at the same year like Caufield. So that team, that Caufield, remember that the Keliev, the Turcotte, all those players was drafted. Cam York at between 10 to 12, 15. They select Spencer Knight, the Panthers. But unfortunately, problem with drugs, everything like that, put him a little bit behind. But hopefully he recovery. But this is good a long term for Chicago Blackhawks. So I think this like you said, I agree with you for both teams. This is a good thing happening about that. So we'll see. We'll see what happening.
Another
But
coach. Also, another note. Today I think Florida placed Kachuk um,
yeah,
on the injury reserve, so that opens up some space, cap space. So expect this not to be the last trade that they make. They'll probably bring somebody else in, and you could tell that they were feeling the footprints of Tampa Bay in the background because Tampa Bay has been playing some very good hockey lately. So when you put all that together, I'm not too surprised that Seth Jones has come over, and they're not quite done yet.
Yeah, they've almost got 9 million in cap space right now, so they got a lot of
Yeah,
lot of room to do more.
and you have another trade happening: Minnesota Wild and the Nashville Predator. Gustav Nyquist trade to the Wild for a 2026 second round pick. I think Minnesota, they have many injuries and they just try to secure something like that. I think it's the kind of trade they're going to do, but not major for the Wild. For the Nashville, but this is a mess. This is a mess up. It's mess over there. Barry Trotz did a really, really bad job. Like how he was a great coach, he did a really bad job. Then he become the GM. That's the reality behind that. Bad signature, bad trade, and it just continues to be bad for Barry Trotz. So Nashville, the team is over. It's not the last trade. I think Randall Riley will be the next one going to leave the Nashville Predator for them. And we're going to see, of course, what's happening for the rest of the team there. They're losing all the tonight, but they scored 3-0. And OZ on the ER. The Saros have a bad year. And this is not looking good for Andrew Brunette as a head coach over there. Finally, we have another trade. We talk about Colorado Avalanche, New York Rangers. I think the New York Rangers make a stand right there, has become a sailor. Riley Smith is out of the game tonight, healthy scratch. They trade Rand Lindgren and Jimmy Vesey and Camp to the Colorado Avalanche and return Parsinen at the hand. A second round pick, a 4th round pick in 2025. There's some contention there, but overall, Devin, what do you think about that trade?
I think it's a good move for Colorado. Colorado's, trying to shore up some of their depth guys. They did the same thing last year at the deadline. Obviously, it didn't work out all the way for them. I think earlier in the year we saw them shore up their goaltending. Now they're kind of fixing up. They've obviously got the top end of their lineup pretty secure and where they want it to be, and now they're just trying to put some of the finishing pieces in place. So it'll be interesting to see. But you're right; it is interesting to see. What does this mean for New York? Like, what does it mean? For their approach to the rest of the season. Are they giving up on the playoffs? Are they looking to retool? Are they what does it mean from their perspective? And again, I think you described it as a mess. And I think New York is a little bit of a mess right now. I think there doesn't appear to be a long-term plan or a vision in place as to what they want to do with the lineup, and they seem to be just doing different things here and there that don't really sort of fit together with one another. So for Colorado, I think Colorado is probably, probably the winner here, especially in the short term. But again, it'll be interesting to see, how this fits in with the rest of what New York does at the deadline, and in the off season as well. Like whether they're looking to sort of, take another direction, or whether they still feel that they're a contender, because frankly they're not really. And getting rid of these guys, I don't think really helps them, and I don't think that Parsonen and DeHaan are going to do anything in the short term to help them between now and the end of this year. Anyway, I mean those draft picks might help down the road, but I mean realistically, I think for now Colorado gets the advantage.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Devin. It's about depth for Colorado. They addressed that, I think. And coach, you talk about messing up in Nashville. Just to piggyback off of what Devin was saying, I don't know what New York is doing. I mean, here's a team that was, I thought at the beginning of the year, a legitimate team to go far in the playoffs, And now, we saw how they handled the situation with their Truba earlier on in the year. It created quite a division in the locker room, and things haven't gotten any better. Like at this point, to throw in the towel when you're not really that far off. At least that's the perception. I'm not saying that maybe that's the intent, but that's the perception when you start making trades like that. They already have a couple defensemen that are on the injury reserve, so things don't look too good. And they just finished signing up Shesterkin, which, I mean, obviously they had to do that. That's one of the best goalies in the league, and they wanted to do that for the future. But if they don't retool along the way here and do it properly, and instill a little bit of confidence within and vision in terms of where they're headed, coach, this team is not going to go up; they'll go down.
Well, and that's the thing too, right? Like they're doing things that are, you say that they had to sign Shesterkin, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. But if their plan is to rebuild, you know, what better piece to kickstart a rebuild than if you're going to trade a Shesterkin and the return that you could get for a guy like that. Obviously now it's a moot point because they've signed him and clearly he's not going anywhere. But again, like on one hand, they seem to be clearing house a little bit, and on the other hand, they're holding on to some of their long-term veterans. And again, I know you don't have to get rid of all of your veterans if you're going to rebuild, but it just seems like you say, that there's no plan there. They're different moves, and they're different. Their actions don't seem to be consistent with one another. And like you said, I think they're kind of all over the place a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see what the rest of the trade period and the rest of the season looks like for the Rangers.
Yep. Great comments about that, guys. I just feel like it's not a good trade for me. It's not a good trade for Colorado. I don't understand their point, what they're looking for. Lindgren, if you look about data analytics, is one of the not very good stats for him. So I don't get it, but maybe some debt, but it's not a big trade in my opinion. A couple of things about this. New York Rangers, Nashville become seller. We'll talk about this early, but a couple of injuries around the league. Nashville OZ is now on the ER. Florida announced Matthew Tkachuk, like Mr. Enrotap talked about, long-term injury reserve, going to be returning April 19 when they're going to play a first game against Toronto. Marchand versus from Boston is on the ER. Really bad injury yesterday. Hopefully, it's going to be fine. Did not like the way he hit the board, honestly. Sidney Brunet is on the D today. Questionable for tomorrow against Toronto Maple Leafs. Toronto announced Danev is on ER. Minnesota announced week to week for Brodin. Minnesota guys talk about an unlucky team this year. Kaprizov, Eriksson, Hartman suspended, Brodin now. Many injuries all year long for them. Never have a full team complete. And they hanging there, guys. Gustafsson have maybe one of the underrated goaltender in NHL this season. And Max Strom back in the lineup tonight for the Devils. Again, the Vegas go tonight. So that's what we got there. We have a lot of people knock the door. Welcome back, everybody. 20 is in the house tonight.
Did Celebrini sprain his pelvis on that overtime goal by Caufield? Is that his injury that he's out for?
Maybe it was, something like that.
Yeah, it's lower body. They're
lower
not
body
specified.
Injury, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Caufield turned him inside out.
You're not sure his upper body and I thought with the neck, like.
I thought I had heard lower body, but I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I was just scared because the fact he watched the Caufield go around him.
Oh,
so the other thing is important. There is Markstrom coming back probably means that the draft pick coming from New Jersey in the Jake Allen trade, probably because if he played 40 games, the Canadiens would get that trade that draft pick would be moved up around, and that doesn't. Markstrom coming back means that's probably not going to happen.
How many games does he have under his belt now, Devin? Allen.
It's right around 30, I think. I think he's still. I don't think he's anywhere really close to 40.
Not at all.
I think it's 40.
He was. And he was playing all the game. He was barely make it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it was not close at all. So now with him back, I've been back in the house. Welcome back. We have a couple of news around during the week for the injury for the Montreal Canadiens. Kirby Dach announced going to be out for the remaining of the season. Should be recovery ready for the upcoming season. Now we're going to talk about Kirby Dach later, so I don't want to talk too much about the situation for Kirby Dach. Anderson is in bad shape, guys. I think I heard like Mr. Enrotap every time he left the ice, they bring the wheelchair behind the bench and they put him on the wheelchair and then they carry on him on the locker room. And looked like a Gallagher offer to bring him at the locker room. So we'll see happening for him. But Anderson, guys, in bad shape is like we have to give him a credit. The guys like what a great bounce back a year from Josh Anderson. 10 goal now this season. And he gave everything. He gave everything. The only hope for me is going to be healthy for the upcoming season, next season. But this is a great inspiration for the players, for the team, from his teammate to see Josh Anderson, guys, barely make the locker room sit. Like this guy is in the bad shape right now. And finally, Kenan Coley could come back. We'll see. But it looked like he could come back at the end of the season, maybe play a couple of games. I would love to see that, Mr. Enrotap, because that would give us a bit. He's going to feel a little bit better how he feel to come back. A lot of people say, "Oh no, just wait next season." But this is a mindset game, right? This is you want to feel it right away. So if he can do that, that'd be great to see Kenan Coley at the end of the season. So I don't know if you want to put one comments. For Anderson or Kenan Coley in our tap.
Coach, you're absolutely right. Like for me, probably when you look at the Masterton award this year for Montreal, I mean, you might consider Anderson. I know Line A is also a consideration for it, but I mean, this guy has played injured for the longest time, and he continues to come back. And not only come back, he's also effective out there. Whether it's with points or whether it's just forechecking, or he still continues to play a physical brand of hockey. So he hasn't let the injuries sort of uh, deter him from playing that game. I mean, I hope it isn't as bad as it looks, and that it's just something that could be done very quickly, and maybe a couple days rest could really help him. Gooley, I agree. If he were to come back, even just for a game or two, just to sort of feel, to wrap up the year with his teammates and sort of feel like he's back into it, and give him sort of a target for the upcoming year to work hard over the summer and make sure that his knee is 100%. That would be great.
Good point about that. They're going to go the next, if you don't mind, to move on to the next thing. I'm going to keep your comments about Kirby Dach. So let's hop in this. I heard about Jake Evans is on demand, one for the Los Angeles Kings and one for the New Jersey Devils. So how you feel about that? Is it possible they trade Jake Evans to the Los Angeles Kings or the New Jersey Devils? If yes, what would be the return about that trade?
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that Evans would be in demand, and I think that the combination of Evans and Armia together would be in demand, because I think if any team that gets those two guys together automatically has a valid penalty kill, right? Those two guys, alone give you a valid penalty kill, which is why I'm surprised that a team like Minnesota might not be in the conversation, or they shouldn't. I would think they would have been in the conversation. New Jersey is the one that kind of intrigues me a little bit there, Coach. We've talked in our sort of chat group about New Jersey and the fact that there might be some interest in Gritsuk coming from SKA as a possible complementary piece to Ivan Demidov, and he's a New Jersey draft pick. He's a New Jersey property. And so, if Evans ends up coming over or going over to New Jersey, then Gritsuk could be part of a return there. And if you paired up Evans and Armia, maybe you can work your way into getting Gritsuk and something else. I think the the trade that I thought, again, pure speculation on my part, but something like Evans and Armia and a draft pick for Gritsuk and Nemec or something like that would be an interesting thing. I don't know what the LA Kings would look like. What their kind of return would be. I know. I guess you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard that they're looking to move some of their defensemen. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. Young defenseman in LA.
For which team?
For LA.
LA?
Yeah.
What's his name?
You talk about the Clark?
Yeah, Clark.
Yes.
I don't know if there's any truth to this at all, but I heard somewhere that there's some thought that he could be somebody that could be available. But again, I don't know that Evans and Armia are, anywhere in that conversation. So I don't know what the return would look like from the Kings. But again, I think the Devils would present a bit of an interesting, situation. Whereas, if you could partner up Evans and Armia to New Jersey. Gritsuk obviously is, for those of you who don't know, Gritsuk's a teammate of Demidov's at SKA. I believe he's got around 35 points so far this year, so he's about 10 or 12 points behind Demidov. He's 23 years old. I don't know that he would be a superstar in the NHL, but he certainly would be a good complementary piece, and would obviously help Demidov with his adjustment and his, coming to North America, having somebody with him that he could relate to maybe a little bit. So in that sense, I think New Jersey is an interesting landing spot.
Is he injured right now, Devin?
Yeah, he's injured. I believe. Is he still injured, Coach? He was. I know he was out for a while. I don't know if he still is or not.
About who again? I'm sorry.
Gritsuk. Is he still injured?
Which one?
Gritsuk for SKA. Gritsuk for SKA?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, yeah. Gritsuk is still injured. He did not play yesterday for the team SKA.
Yeah.
So when he's playing, he's one of their better offensive players. Like he's got talent. He wouldn't just be a throw-in. He would be a guy who could play in the NHL someday.
Yeah, the only problem we said for both of you about him is he's coming to Montreal, it would be a bottom six. It would not make the top six. And I think Montreal Canadiens have better and they control the development better to have the bottom six player like Jekai, Michael Edge, Kapanen, Owen Beck, Davidson, Corp, everything like that. So I would not to go that direction, but the news or the rumor was talking about him. But if it was a top six, Devin or Enrotap, I would consider that really closely. But I think for me, the fact Demidov is more independent, more mature compared to Sakoski. I think Demidov could be fine. You don't need a Russian player. He can speak English. He have a girlfriend for many years. Sakoski, he came here alone. Now, again, I'm not saying the maturity of Sakoski is not there. But compare both of them, I think Demidov, you don't need, like you said, someone babysit, nobody there. I think Demidov will be fine. We'll talk about him the next couple of minutes. But let's see the review of the game yesterday, the Buffalo Montreal Canadiens. We went by the score 4-2. With that W, guys, we are, 3 points behind the wild spot in NHL and the Eastern Conference. We'll talk about the playoff spot for the Montreal in the next couple of minutes. But yesterday for me, Caufield 29. This is the highest score and one regular season. Anderson 10 goals. We talk about Josh Anderson. Last year his total was 9, and you still have 20 games to play. So it's amazing if you think about that. And then you have New Hook, 12 goals, back-to-back goal for New Hook. New Hook is looking good. And then you have Jake Evan and then Tinet. That's his second goal in the last 24 games. Hutson, Devarek, 2 assists. Devarek play his best hockey of the season right now, the last couple of games. 11th player for the Montreal Canadiens with 10 goals. This is the first time happening since 1980s. About that. And then we have Tobesh, solid performance, a 920 save percentage. Suzuki, 9 points the last 4 games. Montreal Canadiens went for the first time 4W consecutive game this season. And looking good right now. So I will start with Enrotap. That one give us a bit an overview of what you saw during the game, what pay you a little bit more attention about that game. Followed by Devin after that.
Sure, sure, Coach. I mean, overall, you take the points you can, and Montreal came ahead of this 4-2. I would not say that they played a great game. There were definite gaps in their game yesterday. A lot of their shots were from the periphery again, and that really plays into Buffalo's hands because they're a big team, and they were, as you saw, they imposed their will in terms of physicality. I know Montreal responded in some aspects, but what you want to do against a team like Buffalo is use the ice between the dots and get the puck to the net. If you look at all four goals that they scored, they were from, high danger areas and not from the periphery. And Montreal always gets themselves into trouble when they play that circular periphery game. And Buffalo's not a hard team. Like once you get it into their own zone, I mean, you could put pressure on their defense, especially if it's the second or third pairing that's out there. So uh, that that said, again, we'll take the 2 points. They did show good spurts in the game. Like you said there, I thought Newhook and I mean Hutson was just superb all night long, just making some great passes and opening people up. I thought Anderson was very gutsy. Caufield with a nice goal there on his 29th. So overall, I thought, take the 2 points and hopefully they learn from it. And when they play them again on Monday, the game plan's a little bit different.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Quick and out that. Usually he talk for 5-10 minutes. I was not paying attention. So he was going to talk about 19, so I said that.
Time flies
Yeah.
when you're having fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's good points. I mean, I agree with you. Like, it was a good game. It wasn't a great game, right? It wasn't. I don't think we're back to, New Year's. The way they were playing at New Year's, but I thought it was inconsistent. Within the game itself, like there were periods of the game where they looked awesome, and then there were periods of the game where they looked completely lost. Again, it really only affected them. Both of the goals were scored. Both of the goals against were scored within a minute and a half of each other, and beyond that, they didn't allow any goals. But again, I thought there were times where they looked very good, and there were times where they looked very bad. There were players who looked really good. And I don't know that there were any players individually that looked really bad last night, but there were just times where structurally they didn't look very good. The systems didn't, where Buffalo was able to sort of hem them in their own end for a little while, and they just didn't seem to, it was almost like, their brains weren't working sometimes on clearances and how to get the puck out of their own end. Where like the Jake Evans, again, I'm not going to criticize Jake Evans because he's been a pretty solid guy all year. But a rare mistake from Jake Evans. There were a couple of mistakes from Matheson in his own end where they just kind of like hesitated for a second, and it kind of resulted in a problem. But you're right, Hutson, incredible. Again, arguably his best game of the year. Like he continues to amaze me with, like, there doesn't appear to be any plays that he makes where it's like, oh, I don't have anything I can do here, so I'm just going to like fire it away and just get rid of it. Like every play he makes seems to be with a purpose, right? Like there's never, you always tell, I think, coach, you can probably, attest to this, that sometimes you tell your players if you've got no options, just, ring it off the glass, right? Get it out, just get it off the glass. Hutson never really seems to have to do that. He always, whether it's banking it off the boards to another player or whatever, he always manages to find somebody in a useful way to move. Yeah, he creates something and like that. Like he doesn't have to, it happens in a split second, right? Like, some guys, like an Arbor Jack guy, is going to have to just, flip it, off the scoreboard some games, just to get it out of the zone because he can't really figure out a better option than that. But Lane Hutson always manages to seem to find a guy who he can get the puck to, and he's just really, really fun to watch. Dobesh, I thought, was okay. I thought he played well enough to win, obviously, and that's all you really need from your goalie. But he just doesn't look as comfortable in the net as he did for those first 5 or 6 starts when he first came up, which is fine. You don't expect him to be Carey Price for his entire career, but he got the job done, and I thought he was fine. Suzuki has been great. Anybody who's questions Suzuki's ability to step up and bring the team put the team on his shoulders and sort of carry them through the tough times. He's been a leader in this sort of revival since the break, and it's fun to watch. It's a lot more fun to watch the team when they're winning than when they're losing, and it's also a lot more fun to talk to Montreal Canadiens fans when the team is winning than it is when they're losing. And I'm definitely enjoying it, and I hope it keeps up, and it should be fun.
Absolutely. And Suzuki now 61 points in 60 games, so he's back on track.
So this game, guy, was very interesting game. First of all, when you're on the road, you want to be sure you get out of the first period, at least not more at one goal, right? They was scoreless. Montreal was not bad at all overall. And then after that, that second period was a funny period. It was a changing momentum. Montreal gets strong, get the goal, 29 for the Caufield. And then they were looking good. Then you get a penalty, I believe. After that, you get 2 goals back-to-back by the Buffalo Sabres. Now it was 2-1. Then we're going to get out of that period with a 1 goal. But we see, Montreal can come back. And they come back right away at the second period with a goal of Anderson in the hook. And like that, the momentum back to Montreal Canadiens. And finally, for the third period, that's what I want to focus on that. It's not easy to learn to win game. It's not something you just turn the switch and say we play hockey. Yesterday, that showed to me maturity of the team. They did not give a lot of chance for the Buffalo Sabres overall, and they don't need to score another goal until the empty net at the end to win the game. So they protect very well Tobash. They play a solid defensive game for the last 20 minutes of the game. They learn to keep a lead by 1 goal and to finish with the game properly the right way to win the game. This is called for me maturity from the young core. This is what you talk about at the beginning of the season, meaningful game in March and April to learn to play important game to stay in the mix or try to mix. This is the game, guys. Completely change everything on the standing. You are right now wake up with 3 points versus 5 points. This is a huge. And they find a way now to learning about those moments during this season. They will keep helping them a long term to become better as a hockey player, but also as a unit, as a team together. So I think for me, this is what I get out of that game more at our individual players. On the individual players, like I said, guys, Hutson play a steady game. And I feel that way. The Hutson for me is the MVP for Montreal Canadiens. When Hutson play like Hutson, Montreal Canadiens play well. That's all. When Hutson struggle, the Montreal struggle. We talk about the fact Heineman was not there. The record was bad. But again, it's happening at the same time when Hutson start to go down the way he was played before the Four Nations. And you can see now Hutson control the game, guys. He does so many good things you don't see on the score sheet. The back checking and sealed the puck on the goal of Caufield, I believe. When the long stretch pass to Suzuki, this is the beauty, guys, for the Montreal Canadiens. So we have to give credit overall for the Montreal Canadiens yesterday. I like the way they protect the lead at the third period. This is the play I'm talking about. The long stretch pass now to Suzuki to Laney, and then Laney get to Caufield. And one-timer, this is the 29th goal of the season for Laney. On that one, Montreal Canadiens, yeah, this is the second time that they pick up the puck on the defensive side. Hutson again control the puck right there. Great play by Christian Dewarek, patient in the back, and then pass the puck to Josh Anderson. And then who has the puck again? Start everything again. It's Hutson. And that all the 3 goals right there for the Montreal Canadiens. So listen, guys, this is what Hutson is for the Montreal Canadiens. So big W for Montreal Canadiens. 4 W. Sunday came back for the Four Nations. They are 3 points for the behind the last spot of the wild card of the Eastern Conference. And they beat Ottawa, Carolina, San Jose, and they beat the Buffalo Sabre, and they're going to play again at Buffalo Monday. But again, uh, lead by one goal at the third period, they win it. Beat the San Jose on overtime. What a great game they play against the Carolina Hurricane. And they was really structured against Ottawa Senators. So this is looking good for Montreal Canadiens. But some people will never make. They maybe not make the they make the playoff. I don't care about the playoff, guys. I want Montreal to play
Yeah.
exactly what they did yesterday, learning the meaningful game. That's the most important thing, in my opinion, for the Montreal game. So, before we move on to the next stood out, if you want to add one more comments about what I just said or about the game and our tap, you can do it.
No, I think you hit on most of the points there
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, Coach. Like they're learning, right? And that's what you look for. Is like they played a game last night. You know, we talked earlier in the season about how sometimes they got beat by teams who were just more professional and more mature than they were. Like there were games where they played pretty decently, but the other team just was more calculated and had, you know, like you said, Coach. You know, when you're on the road, you've got to make sure you get through the first period, and you know, as professionals, you learn that, right? In an 82 game series, 82 game season, there's going to be games where you don't, where you show up and you don't have everything, right? And you're not going to play, you know, dominant hockey for 60 minutes, and you know, good teams win those games, and you know, they weren't doing that earlier, and you know, this is what they've been trying to teach them, or that's what Marty St. Louis and the coaching staff have been trying to teach them, is how to handle the mental component of the game and how to win these kinds of games. And you know, you're not going to win. You're not going to be a team that dominates and beats the crap out of your team, you know, the other team every single night. You're not going to do that. It just doesn't happen that way. And so for them to win a game like last night and to just be able to know what they need to do to win that game, even though they know, Josh Anderson's not doing his best. You know, he's not feeling that. You know, to be able to do that is a huge step forward for this team. It's an enormous step forward. It's you know, compared to the team that we saw in October and November, it's night and day.
Great
Yeah.
point about that. And after that, one thing I want to add, I did not, I forget about that, and I don't know if you mentioned. If you did, I apologize. But I think the physicality of that game, it was one of the
Yeah.
most physical of the season, in my opinion. Buffalo was it everyone, so I can expect some fireworks Monday night. I believe between both
Well,
teams,
they
for
they
sure.
had about 55, 56 hits
Oh yeah,
between
yeah,
the two
yeah.
teams.
It
Yeah.
was very physical, so I
Amazing.
apologize I didn't mention that. We have a question for LDP. Lane Hutson, who did is end up idolizing as a young defenseman, I
Young man.
believe, younger players at Langstrom. And I thought you have
No,
the
Patrick Kane.
answer for that.
Lidstrom
Yeah.
Patrick Kane was his
from
hero too.
Detroit.
He grew
Not a
up in
bad guy to look up to.
he grew up in Chicago, but he I think he was a Detroit and Chicago
Yeah.
fan. But
Um, but I think Quinn Hughes was the player he was when he was with BU, he was talking about Quinn Hughes. But look, this is a great player for sure. We have a few people knock the door. For you is in the house
He,
tonight. Welcome back for you. We have Slicky back in the house. Many people are in the house. Charles for Scotland. Thanks for all the likes we got. We're missing a couple to get the 50. We try to get 60 if you don't mind, everybody. That'd be awesome. A lot of comments pop up left and right. But we have to move on because the next thing is now is the time to the rewards, Mr. Enrotap. And I would like to hear from you. What do you feel about that? The stood out player, the obscure, and at the office.
let's go with, for me, it stood out. I mean, we've talked about him already extensively tonight. Lane Hutson, I thought he played a solid game. I mean, just the confidence and the poise for a rookie, for him to carry the puck up there, and just to go back to what Devin was saying earlier, he thinks the game quickly on the ice. Like, he's got vision, he knows how to create space for himself. He sees a player that's wide open, and that pass is tape to tape. So I'll give it to Lane Hutson for the player of the game. Obscure, I'm going to go with, I thought yesterday, and it's not just yesterday, I think in his last 3 games, his quality of play has been increasing gradually and steadily, and been very good. And that's Jaden Struble for me. I thought I thought he brought a very physical aspect to the game, but it wasn't just that. I just thought he was very responsible in front of his own net. Uh, he really complimented his partner as well, and I thought, he didn't make any sudden panicky moves with the puck when he had it. He just a safe out with the puck, and it showed up in all the different analytics for him for that game. And then to the office, again, nobody that really stood out like in terms of being bad for the game, as Devin was referring to earlier. But I would maybe just throw Jake Evans down there just to give him a little bit of refresher. I thought there were a couple of mistakes he made out there. He didn't seem to be skating as well as he has in some of the other games. It could be fatigue as well. It could be, I mean, if you think about it, every day uh, he sees his name out there in terms of, am I going to sign a contract here? Am I moving out of Montreal? I'm sure that's got to play on his mind as well, and sometimes that's brought forth in the game as well. So again, nothing serious that he did wrong. I still think I think he won like 56% of his face-offs. So that again, that's not bad. It's actually quite good. But he did make a couple mistakes, and he didn't seem to be skating as well as he usually does. So I'll just send him down for a quick little chat with the principal.
Devin, you can go with same player, we understand.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that Hutson's a great pick, and I probably would have picked him, but I think I'll go with Nick Suzuki has stood out. He's an obvious choice. Obviously, I think we talked earlier. What is it? 8 points in 3 games, or something like that, or 9 points in 4 games, or whatever it is. He's the captain. He's proving why he's the captain. He's the leader on the team. You listen to the other players talk about him after the games. Coming out of the break, I think he realized that this team needed a bit of a kick in the pants, and he's not a loud guy about it, right? He's not a kind of guy who's going to go and scream and yell and carry on, but he leads by example, and I think he's done that. If you listen to him interviewed lately, he does. I think somebody mentioned it the other day during one of the questions during I think it was after one of the practices. There seems to be a bit of a chip on your shoulder, right? And he's like, yeah, we want to be better. Like we thought we played well enough to win some of those games before the break, but we need to be better. And there's no excuse for not winning. And I think I think he's really done that, and he's brought the rest of the team along. It's not just about him playing better. I think it's what he does and the leadership he brings and the example he sets for the other guys. And I think right now he's kind of the straw that stirs the drink a little bit, especially for that first line, which is playing its best hockey of the year. So for me, Lane Hutson obviously is a fine choice for stood out this week, but I think Nick Suzuki is as well. For obscure, I think Jaden Struble again. I think he probably would have been my choice, but I think I also would look at Alex Newhook. I think Alex Newhook's playing well. You've just lost one of the members of your line. It's a very easy time to disappear. It's a very easy time to say, the adversity is too much right now. But I think both him and Patrick Laine have looked really, really good. Owen Beck has looked solid on that line, and they've kind of helped him along. But Alex Newhook in particular, I think, has looked really nice the last 3 or 4 games. He's using his speed in every aspect of the game, right? He's not just using it on the offensive side of the game. He's using it defensively. He's using it to retrieve pucks. He's using it all over the place. And I think, he's finally, getting some breaks as well as far as the puck going in the net. I think it was his 12th goal last night. And so it's nice to see him doing well. So for me, I would have him as the obscure. For at the office, I'm going to say, as a jokingly, I'll say at the office, I'll say Josh Anderson so that he can have a bit of a break and maybe have a nap and, get away from the ice and not have to
Hey, Devin, he is there every day at the treatment day.
Yeah. He's in the office all the time. So I'll say But again, on a more serious note, I might say Marty St. Louis to the office. And the reason I say to the office for Marty St. Louis is that I think he might have screwed up a little bit in the San Jose game when he benched Arbor Jacki in the third period. Um, I'm not. Again, I heard his explanation, and I get it, and I get where he's coming from. But I think it was a tough thing to do to Arbor Jacki, who has been playing very well and did nothing, I don't think, in that game to really earn a benching. And it sent I think it sent a mixed message to Arbor Jacki, and I think I don't think he played his best game last night either against Buffalo. Was it against Carolina that they benched him, or was it San Jose?
It was the last game against San Jose.
Yeah. So again, I understood the explanation that Marty St. Louis gave, but I think that honestly, I think more likely, I think he just kind of forgot about him a little bit on the bench with all that was going on with the penalties and all that. But again, I think Arbor Jacki is a guy who's done a lot to improve and has done a lot to become a very solid contributor on the Canadiens, and I think it was unfair. Again, I'm a Marty St. Louis fan. You guys know this. I'm not criticizing his coaching by any means, but I think it kind of goes against his philosophy where he talks about, young players sometimes, you don't want them out there playing, scared to make a mistake. You want them to be comfortable and comfortable in their skin and not worried about all of that. And I thought that maybe that was a little bit of a mistake. So, maybe Marty St. Louis needs to have a chat with himself in the office after that. Again, this is an indication, obviously, that there's not a lot of guys that are clearly deserving of a trip to the office, which is why I'm picking him. But that would be my choice.
Great comments about Hughes stood out, honestly, yesterday. Many players. I have to go with Lane Hutson for me. I think Hutson played a solid game. Obscure Christian Dvorak. For me, Christian Dvorak played a solid game right now. Maybe his best hockey of the season. At the office, I don't have a lot yet. Like, we're looking more what it could be there, honestly. I don't see any player have a really bad game yesterday to put them over there. So we skip the office. So we gave a day off to Martin St. Louis and Enrotap,
Yeah.
so he can have more time about this.
You know what I would say though, Coach? When you look at the analytics a little bit deeper here, there were 20 turnovers or giveaways that Montreal gave up yesterday, and those numbers are not good. When you play a better team, you're not going to get away with that. So if you really want to put somebody in the office, you could put the entire team just for that aspect of not playing a little bit more soundly in terms of the system that they're playing, and just being a little bit more careful with the puck. So that's just something to consider. Hopefully they'll improve on that on Monday when they play Buffalo.
I think at the end of the day, it's more about the fact like the play structure. But I think the stat yesterday was a bit off overall. I think I have more hit at what they offer, and I think they gave away too easy for both teams. If you look about that part of there, but I understand your point of view for that. They make some couple of mistakes. At the first period, it was off a little bit, but if you want to be all the way to the end, they need, to play better compared to the last two games, in my opinion, and play more a 60-minute game. I believe it'll be a better benefit for them. Let's move on. We got a lot of great subject, guys. We have a lot of people back in the chat. Thanks so much for sharing all your point of view on the chat. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like if you don't mind. That'd be great. Next thing, guys, the question, the subject of the night, guys, is honestly that part of that. The Montreal Canadiens playoff, is it a playoff team, yes or no? And, that's fun way to see that. It's fun way to say yes or no. And I will expect to hear your comments about that. How do you see Montreal Canadiens? They have a chance to make it? If they make it, what's the percentage with that? What would be the record for the last 23 game, I believe, or 22 game? They still, I think it's 22nd now, 22. So I
They
would like to hear
succeed.
from you, all of you, that shot also sharing that. Do you feel they have the personnel of the player right now to make the playoff? Yes or no? So this is the question. Add playoff team, yes or no? And I will start with Devin on that one, if you don't mind. And sharing with you what you feel about Montreal Canadiens. If it's yes, yes, how they going to make it? If it's no, what is missing? Or why the reason they're going to make it? Does it make sense, Devin?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, do they have the personnel to be a playoff team? Yes, I think they do. The question is their maturity, right? We've talked about it, right? This year is about learning how to win, and the question is, have they learned enough about how to win in order to carry that over, in the last 22 games or whatever it is in the season to be a playoff team? They've shown us that at times they are capable of it, right? They have learned to win, right? We've seen them be that team if they play the way they did between Christmas and the last week in January. Then yes, absolutely, they're a playoff team. There's no questioning that. If they play the way they did in October, or even the way they did in the week and a half before the Four Nations face-off, then they probably won't make the playoffs. So again, I think they're definitely capable of being there. They definitely have on paper they have the ability to be a playoff team. Um, you know, it's just a matter of which team shows up, which team plays those last 22 games of the year. It also obviously depends on what happens at the trade deadline. Who gets dealt, who sticks around. Are there injuries? Right now obviously they're dealing with Dach's injury. Maybe Evans, Armia, Dvorak, and Savard, and somebody, other people may be gone and other people may come in. We don't know, right? We don't know what this team is going to look like at the end of next week. So it's like it remains to be seen. Like, can they be the team that they are capable of being, or are they still a little bit too green? Are they still a little bit too immature to play those meaningful games, right? These are the meaningful games that we've been talking about. This is the meaningful games that Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes and Jeff Molson were talking about at the golf tournament, before training camp started, right? Are they, this is the first time they're playing meaningful games. Can we rightfully expect them to consistently win those games, with it being the first time they ever get exposed to it? I don't know. I think, again, so if the question is, are they capable of it? I think yes. Whether they will or not, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised either way. And frankly, like you said earlier, Coach, I don't really care if they make the playoffs. It's not, to me, the season isn't a failure or a success based on whether they make the playoffs or not. What I like is that they've shown us, but more importantly, they've shown themselves what it looks like to be a playoff contending team and what it looks like to be a team that can make the playoffs. And so, they know what that looks like. They know what that feels like, and they can, bring that with them into next season as they improve individually and as they improve as a team, and as new guys come into the lineup. Demidov comes into the lineup, and other guys come up from Laval. This is not going to be a new experience for them the next time they're faced with it. So, maybe I haven't done a great job of answering the question, but I mean, in short terms, I do believe they're capable of making the playoffs, but I think it all depends on how far along the learning curve they are with respect to the mental aspect of learning how to win hockey games. And I think, frankly, it could go either way. It certainly looks pretty good at the moment, where, with the last 4 games, 4 wins in a row. But again, like Enrotap was saying earlier, if they play the way they did against Buffalo last night, against the Florida Panthers or the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's probably not going to go so well. So there is room for improvement, and they're going to have to definitely tighten up a little bit if they are going to make the playoffs. So we'll see, right? It's going to be an interesting month and a half, and it'll be fun to watch.
Mr. Nartap.
Well, if the question is this a playoff team, Coach? I would say right now, no. Right? They're working towards that. That's what this whole rebuild's about. If you look carefully, very few teams. Well, I would say maybe no teams go far in the playoffs if they don't have two solid lines up front. And right now, Montreal just doesn't have the depth to fulfill or to fill in that second line right now. And that's an area that I think that they will address, and they'll. It's part of that rebuild process that they're talking about, and the evaluation of what they had and have, and moving forward. But having said all of this, can they still possibly get in? I mean, we're talking what, 3 points between them and Detroit, has lost what, 3 games in a row now, I think, and Montreal's won 4. So, of course, you could do that. I wouldn't put anything past that them in terms of maybe sneaking in there, but if we're answering the question, are they a true playoff team right now? I say it's a bit premature. I think as a couple more pieces come into the fold from their own system, and as the younger players become a little bit more seasoned, and they address, hopefully they'll have another good draft this year, and as well they'll address the 2C position, uh, maybe through an RFA or a UFA this summer. And I think if you put those little things together, it then gives them that depth where the players that they currently have will possibly be playing in their right spots, and you're going to see quite a difference, because when the expectations aren't as high for them, that's when they start to obviously loosen up and play a much better brand of hockey. So uh, I don't know if I've answered the question, but I just don't think that they're quite ready yet for to be a serious playoff team.
Yeah, I think just to piggyback on that for a second, I think you make a great point. Like if they make the playoffs, it'll be a surprise, right? If they make the
Yeah,
playoffs this year because they're ahead of schedule, right? If they make the playoffs, it'll be because the teams that they're competing for the wild card aren't really playing their best, right? Like if Boston and New York go out and play their best, or the Red Wings or whatever play their best hockey between now and the end of the year, the Canadians probably don't make the playoffs, right? But there is an opportunity there for the Canadians with what they have right now to surprise teams, right? And if the other teams falter and the Canadians play the way they've shown they're capable of, they can make it. But again, I think I agree with you completely. If they do make the playoffs, it's a surprise, right? It's not expected. It's not
yeah.
like we're not sitting here saying this team should make the playoffs. They're a playoff team, and if they don't make the playoffs, it's a disappointment. Like they're not there yet. They're not at that stage.
Yeah, coach, can I ask, and Devin, I want to ask you a question. Let's just, for argument's sake, let's say Montreal squeaks in there and makes the playoffs. Do you think overall, and I mean, I have my answer for this, but I'm interested in seeing what you guys think. Do you think that that might be detrimental to their overall process, or is it something that will complement the direction that they're going in? And when I say detrimental, I mean, could it give them a bit of a false illusion that what they have is good enough moving forward, and not work towards perhaps improving the team in different facets?
Devin, before you answer, I will give you right away there. But remember, Devin and Artap, it's happening to the Devils 2, 3 years ago. Remember,
That's
they
right.
make it and then they disappear after that, like 2 years ago, and now they're looking good again. So I just want to give that information for Devin so he can answer back, Devin.
Yeah, I think Detroit is probably a good example of that as well, right? They got a sense that they could make the playoffs and that they were close, and they went out and started signing a bunch of older players that I don't think were right for their team. I don't think it's a concern, and the reason I say that is everything I've seen from Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton is that they're pretty resolved to stick to their plan. They seem pretty resolved that just because they have a little bit of unexpected success, or just because the rebuild appears that it might be a little bit ahead of schedule or ahead of where they might have thought it would end up being, that they're not going to start sort of deviating from their plan. I could be wrong on that, but that's just the impression I get from them. um, I also don't feel like, I also don't feel like, you said something about, do they will it hurt the team because they'll feel like they're satisfied, or they believe that, like, I don't know that this team needs to make a ton of moves outside of the organization going down the road, right? So if they make the playoffs this year, the biggest advantage that gives to the organization, to me, is that it gives these players an experience that they wouldn't have otherwise had, right? So the next time they go to the playoffs, when they are expected to do more than just squeak in or whatever, it won't be a new experience for them. They'll have been there and done that before. And so, as they continue to grow, as Caufield grows as a player, as Slafkovsky grows as a player, as Demidov comes into the mix, as Michael Hage eventually joins the team, as all of these things start to happen, these experiences won't be new to them. So I have the utmost confidence in the management team to stick to their plan, just based on what we've heard from them. So again, I don't know that, your question, I think, was whether there's a possibility that making the playoffs would be detrimental because it would sort of lead the management team or lead the organization to sort of deviate from the long-term plan. I
or
don't.
or a bit of complacency, I guess is the right terminology for that.
Yeah, no, I
Could
mean,
that
again,
set in, right? But
yeah,
I
I think
don't think so. To be honest with you, I don't think so. But
I think that if the Canadians made the playoffs this year, I think that both Kent Hughes and Jeff Gorton would be wise enough to understand that that was a surprise, and that it
yeah,
wasn't something to say, "Oh Jesus, our team's awesome, and we don't need to, stick with the rebuild, or we can now, not worry about development as much, or we can skip the next step of whatever our plan." I think that they would recognize that, yeah, it's great that we're in the playoffs and the kids are going to get a great experience, even though they might, get caved in the first round of the playoffs, but. It's a good experience for them, but I think they still, stick to the plan, which is, rebuilding to the degree that they can within the organization, and developing the players that they've drafted and scouted and developed over the last 3 years.
Another great point in the chat, left and right. Pretty sure all the comments for everyone. Don't forget, please to click on the likes. Look, the questions at playoff team. I don't think so. They are. They are missing too many pieces of the puzzle right now to be a playoff team. In my opinion, how they all could happen. Everything happen in hockey. But I think the most important thing to said that I will say to you, can use Jeff Gordon, whatever happening, they will not change their plan. And their plan is
yeah.
still to try to build that team better and better every single year. So I think that's the best answer I can give it to you about that. Secondly, for me, I said that at the beginning. It's all about meaningful game, and more is in the mix, better it is for the team at long term. So I think this is a good news. If ever they're jumping back and forth, it's no matter for me. If they can stay all the way to the end and the mix,
Yeah.
I think it'll be good about that. And with 22 games to go, they have to almost to get 15 W out the 22 games to stay in the mix. It's a really demanding team to make this happen. But again, unfortunately, I don't see that yet. And for me to be a good playoff team, you have to be more stronger on front position on and that team, and they don't have right now. So it is what it is at the end of the day. And it will be very interesting what is going to happen for the next couple of weeks for the Montreal Canadiens. We have to move on with a quick couple subject. First of all, Willie is in the house. Thanks to be a part of the show tonight. Thanks to be with us, everyone. We have Butch. We have also Glenn. Glenn, glad to see you, my friend. And 26 also is in the house. Now, Caufield scored a goal during the week, guys. And we have to see this because I believe this is the goal of the year for the Montreal Canadiens. And over time, if he recognized Wassily Briné, and he put the puck between his skate and the top shelf goal again. You can see that one over there. And yesterday, he scored a goal for the Montreal Canadiens. And with that goal, that gave him now 29 games. This is the highest scoring goal by on his career and one regular season for Cole Caufield. Um, Question for both of you. Let's start with Enrotap. What will be his final number at the end? Can he reach the 40 goal?
Well, we had that question a while back, and at that point, I said I think he'll fall slightly short of that. He might reach around 37, 38. I think that's a realistic expectation for him. He's now at 29, so basically, we're asking him to put another 8 to 10 goals together over the last 22 games. Um, Sometimes easier said than done, but I think he's definitely capable of it. But this is a milestone for him. It's something to be applauded, and it gives good vibes to the team, knowing that they have a couple guys that can really put the puck in the net, and at his pace as well. It works towards their whole rebuild aspect of where they're trying to go.
David?
Yeah, I mean, he's got 29 goals in 60 games this year, so that's basically a goal every second game. They've got 22 games left. That's 11 goals. That brings him right to 40, right? If you're going on his average. What does this team look like between, what do they do at the trade deadline? Are they going to be, is it going to be tougher for him to score goals between now and the end of the year, or is it going to be easier? The introduction of Laine into the lineup obviously slowed down his goal scoring pace a little bit because, the power play goals were not, as readily available to him as they were earlier. I'm going to say he's going to finish with, I'm going to say he's going to finish with 41 goals because I think that as the season progresses, I think you're going to see the team try and put him in opportunities where he can score goals. If they're out of the playoff race, then I think they'll give him, they'll try and put him out there in situations to score goals. They'll give him more opportunities to do that. If they're in the playoff race, then that means that he's obviously going to get a lot of ice time and that they're playing well. So I'm going to say he is going to get to the 40 goals. And if you're looking for a specific number from me, I'll say 41 for the season. I know I don't like to speculate. I don't like to predict. That, Coach, but I'll do it for you tonight.
Yeah. I think, obviously, for him, he does not play at the end of the game, right, for an empty net goal. At least no whistle, everything like that, right? So his chance to score a goal there is not there. With a power play, yes, he did it because he have a turnover. But otherwise, he play on the other side. The chance of scoring goal is less where he was before. Everything like that. The good news, Suzuki and Sakaski, one of the best line right now. They are hot. That we're helping him. 11 goal and 22 game is 0.5 per game.
It's a lot.
Average. So, obviously, he's going to hit the post, Mr. Enrotap, the last game. He's going to stop at 39. So, Devin, when I do prediction, you can see how deep I'm thinking.
Write it in your Bible. Write it in your black Bible there, Coach.
About that. So he was going to miss it, but barely is going to miss it for Cole Caufield. A lot of the other subjects talk about this. The clash is going to be interesting, guys, tonight. As just a quick comment, say, guys, from the Money Puck website, the first line, Sakaski, Caufield, is in Caufield, as Suzuki. One of the best line are 5 versus 5 this season. They are 7 with 200-minute play line per line. I think 200, 400 minutes. I think it's 200. They are the best line, 7 best line in NHL. Suzuki and Caufield are top 10 with as a duo, shooting puck on the net for an NHL. So I don't want to go deep, but just give you an idea, guys. I think Sakaski went out, plays solid hockey. Didn't like overall his game yesterday. It was not bad, but we want him to keep consistency. It was not negative when I said that. We just want to be sure consistent when we talk about consistency. We see some flash during the game, but I want a little bit more. Caufield have a good game together. But I think next key right now is carry on that line and could join more together. So we'll see what happening for the rest of the season. Lane Hutson, the phenomenal. Top rookie, first in NHL 46, top defenseman, tied 9. Agree, disagree with me. I didn't go on the clash on that one, but Devin, first, do you agree with me? He could be the MVP for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, I do. I think he could be. I think that this team would look very different if he wasn't there. I mean, his points obviously are a huge factor, but also his contributions. He's putting in 20. I don't know what his average is, but it's probably right around 20 or 21 minutes a game for a rookie. He's contributing offensively. Despite some of the numbers that might not look great defensively, I think he's contributing very well defensively. Do I think I would pick him right now as the MVP on the team? Probably not. But, I would not argue with anybody who said he was the MVP, like that he's as valuable as anybody on that team. So is he my MVP? No. Could he be the MVP? Yes. So again, I know that's kind of a wishy-washy answer. But I can't possibly speak highly enough of Lane Hutson and what he's done for this team this year. I mean, I was one of those people who at the beginning of the year kind of chastised people for, automatically thinking that Lane Hutson was just going to step onto this team and be, whatever. I said, like, the kid's 20 years old. Like, maybe he's not, maybe he's going to have an adjustment period. Maybe he's going to need to go to Laval for a little while and learn how to be a pro. And, he's obviously, blown any of those expectations away. And he's been more than anybody possibly could have expected. But as far as the MVP goes, I don't know that I would pick him there. But again, I wouldn't argue with anybody who did.
Yeah, and all of that as a rookie, Devin? It's
absolutely.
Just phenomenal.
Who's getting better every night?
Exactly. Every single game, we're seeing new stats where he's etching up on other people in terms of what they established as under 20 or as a defenseman, as a rookie. So it is phenomenal what he's doing. I mean, how can you ignore that and not say or argue against the fact that he should or could be the MVP? I mean, the only other person I would put in that category is probably Suzuki as MVP. He continues every year to improve his game, and right now, knock on wood, he's at a goal point per game, actually a little bit over. So that's also a positive. But between those two, it's definitely the right call, regardless of who you select.
Good point about that. I just want to give you an idea, guys. On the 21st century, all right, the most point is Quinn Hughes at 53.
Yeah.
Following by McCall at 50 and Zader, Maurice Zader for the Detroit,
Maurice
50.
Zader, yeah.
Right? So he's at 46. He's only at 7 point at Quinn Hughes. And the pass,
That's
it's
right.
not same hockey, Marco and Enrotap and Devin. Murphy, Leach, Sutter, Osley, and Book, they are 65 point and 26 point, but it's not the same kind of hockey. On the number assist guy on the 21st century, Hughes at 45 assists. He's right now at 42. Zader, 43, is number 2. He beat all the rest of the 21st century. So he's right now only at 3 point of Quinn Hughes. 7 point on that point, 7 point on the number of the point, and then he has honestly 3 point on the number of assists. So if you consider that, that's pretty amazing. The most point by the defenseman to a Montreal Canadiens is Chelios at 55 as a rookie. So he's right now 9 point of Chris Chelios for Lane Hutson. This is kind of number, guys. It's unbelievable if you think about that. On my opinion. So he passed all of the other defensemen for the Montreal rookie. I'm talking about Subban, example, Lapointe, 44 point. And so really interesting for the Montreal Canadiens, Lane Hudson. That's the reason I would say to you, he's my MVP of the season, Montreal Canadiens. It's not done yet. We'll see what's happening for the next couple of games for the remaining of the season. Great conversation. The chat, guys. I appreciate a lot all your comments about that. Um, we're going to hit one more here, two more before we move on. The Montreal Canadiens prospect, guys. Demidov week. Very interesting. He was benched during the week, but he responded very well yesterday for Demidov. Yesterday, I have an assist on that one, 29 assists of the season, 48 points for Demidov. A great feed pass on the Caribbean to score his goal. But SK lost again the fourth straight game yesterday by score 2-1. This is maybe, guys, the best game of the season. And they can't shut, but not they can't shut, but for the SKA, this game, guy, was fast. It was physical. It was a playoff game, in my opinion. You can see the middle right there, return the puck on that side, and you can see a one-timer shot from the middle, pick up the puck there, and then a one-timer shot. That's the only goal about that. You're going to see, I don't know if you have some highlight for the middle. You can see him now carrying the puck on that one. Hold on, right there. And a great shot for him. And obviously, this is during the third period. He have a really solid period. He played over 21 minutes yesterday for Dimitrov. Play on the second line again. Another turnover, interception, pass intercept by Dimitrov. That one, another opportunity for him. On that one, guys, this is the move I'm talking about. I believe. Look at that. This we said this, Devin, how many times in the year, right? That move.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is what Demidov did again. Look about this. He's so quick with his hand, guys. Look, did you see that? He bring the puck between the skate of the defenseman right there. And unfortunately, man, this is what they are. They cannot put the puck in the net. So again, on empty net, shoot the puck again. This is the highlights, honestly, of Demidov yesterday. But this is the live. I don't know if you have that one there. So let's see about this. Tyler Thorpe, guys, during the week, have a 3-point for top. Another prospect for the Montreal Canadiens. Today he scored his 26 goal of the season for with the Vancouver Giants. And really solid, guys, on the PK. You can see number 15, guys. This is a Lipinski. Draft by the Calgary Flame is another 6'4". So when they play together, guys, you have a 6'5", and you have a 6'4". Big players over there. And finally, we are going to add one more players, guys, for the Montreal Canadiens. I'm talking about Kapanen. Kapanen, again, have a great week. 3 points on that game. You're going to see 2 points on him. Kapanen have a before during the weekend, have 30 points, 30 game, 1 point per game. Kapanen have a good year. This is another prospect for the Montreal Canadiens going to join the Montreal next season. We know he started the season. Some of you said that maybe he can go Laval. He still have 1 more year contract with the Team Raw. So I think it does not work. He have to return again with the Team Raw. I think it would be more benefit for him to play with the Laval Rocket. But look, this is happening for them. So again, good performance of the prospect Montreal Canadiens. Then Fowler have a record of 101. What a great game yesterday for Fowler. Stopped 41 of the 42 shot for another great percentage of 9.72, I believe. They tied the game 1-1. Fowler is so nice to watch. It's so fun to watch him. He's so square. He's not nervous.
Steady.
Everything is easy for Fowler, honestly. And nobody talk about Emin Croteau, but Emin Croteau have a really great run after Christmas. Croteau played with the Dartmouth College, a goaltender. Nobody talk about him. Play with Waterloo and the USHL a couple of years ago for the Blackhawks. Commit now with Dartmouth. He was only a backup goalie last season. Get more game right now. Got a 2W. He have 9.40. By save percentage, again, is about .916, I believe. Another goaltender in the organization Montreal Canadiens. We talk about Volenkin. I play with Sushi, another great goaltender from Montreal. So Montreal on the goaltender have a really good prospect for the Montrealians. So just give you an overview. I don't want to go deep about that, but I think it's good to hear that for the Montreal Canadian prospect. But Devin and Marco, I know you follow some players right there, but the Rocket are fire right now. Again, yesterday, another big W. Xavier Simoneau, Devin is back. I did not hear that until I saw his name on the roster. Glad to see him. They still have many injuries for them, but Barry Boulet, guys, 44 points and 45 game, Barry Boulet. So a good season for him with the Laval Rocket. Farrell is on fire. Five straight game with 1 point. And Jekai score is 15 goal. He has a 1 goal record of the most goal by a rookie with the team. Laval Rocket, American League. Condoda scored 16 goals during his career. I don't know why. Condoda have only 2 goals this season with the Laval Rocket. Then you have another rookie got 60 goals. Peric Dubé got 60 goals also. So Jeka is 1 goal on that one. So why I bring that to you guys, I want to hear from you, Devin. What do you expect for the Rocket? What do you see there? They are right now 3 points behind the Rochester. Talk about the Rochester American. This is the thing, guys. Affiliation from the Buffalo Sabres. The Rochester, every year, they win. They play well. And when they go in the NHL, the team does not go, don't go nowhere. I don't know what's going on, but again, they promote the last 2 years. Benson, they have Kulich now, Peterka, Quinn, Power. He never played in Rochester, but you have a lot of players coming for the Rochester, and they go up. And unfortunately, they not carry on what they learned for the Rochester. But again, the Rochester guys this year they have Rosen over there, an excellent forward for them. They have again Levy. Levi is still a goaltender over there. We have a couple of prospects still, but this is a maturity team, by the way, overall. But again, Rochester. But for the Laval Rocket, how you feel about that, and what you be your expectation for the remaining of the season and the playoff for Devin?
Before I say that, I want to just make a quick point about the earlier prospects you talked about in the goaltenders as well. Quentin Miller, Conte Miller, as you know, he moved from the QMJHL to the BCHL, and this week they announced that he was committed to go to the University of Denver, which is huge, right? That's a huge program for him, but also it extends the length of time that the Canadiens have to make a decision on whether or not to bring him into the fold, right? So they don't have to decide now. With his junior career ending, they don't have to decide whether to sign him. They can wait until he plays 2, 3, 4 years at the University of Denver. So that's an interesting point as well to keep in mind. As far as the Laval Rocket are concerned, it's an interesting situation because I've heard Kent Hughes mention this, before, where he talks about the fact that, he doesn't want to just use Laval as a sort of a feeder to the NHL team, right? He wants it to be a place where the players, the young players who aren't quite at the NHL level, can go and have learning experiences. And I think one of those learning experiences is for them to continue to be a winning team, to be a playoff team, to be a team. He wants those guys, Jacky, Tuck, Beck, all of those guys, he wants them to experience what it's like to win and to play meaningful games, right? Even if they're not meaningful games in the NHL, they're meaningful games in professional hockey. And I think that's what the organization sees for Laval right now. So one, I think it's a place where they're obviously going to have players that they bring up when they need them. Two, I think it's a developmental place, right? They brought in a new coach, and I think they're trying to sort of ensure that the structures and the systems that are in place in Laval are the same as they were in Montreal, so that when the players are being developed, we see guys, Arbor Jacky got sent down there last year to work on certain aspects of his game, Logan Mayu, but also I think that they want those guys to experience playoff hockey, right? They want them to experience playoff hockey. And so that team is certainly, on the way to making the playoffs. How does that compare to teams like Rochester and Hershey, right? Perennial top teams in the league. but they sometimes don't always carry it over to the NHL level. I don't know. Again, I think there's also a difference with Laval being located so close to the big, to the big team, to the Montreal team, where they can sort of, attend each other's practices. And, it's, if you got to call a guy up for one game and it's a home game, you can do that pretty quickly and easily. So I think what the organization expects from Laval and from those players is that they'll play good, meaningful hockey games between now and the rest of the end of the year and through the playoffs, and that those guys will gain an experience that will benefit them as they move up in their career. It's, Owen Beck, it's again, I don't want to open up this can of worms, but again, Owen Beck, I think if they had their way, I don't think that Owen Beck would be on the Montreal Canadiens right now. I think they would prefer that he be down in Laval, being a part of that team, playing a bigger role down there, playing more than 10 or 11 minutes a game. I think that's their preference. Jakub Dobesh, I think they would have preferred that he stay in Laval for the entire year, and that Caden Primo, would have been, up to the task of being the backup goalie. And I'm not suggesting that Primo should have stayed or anything like that. I'm just saying that I think if they had their preference, Dobesh would have experienced what it's like to go on a playoff run and so on. So that's kind of my view on Laval. I don't know if everybody agrees with that, but that's kind of what I'm getting from the management team about what their thoughts are. Bringing in Connor Hughes, right? They talked about that. They're bringing in Connor Hughes because they don't want to leave, Laval high and dry like they did last year a little bit going into the end of the season.
Not that.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, if it weren't for the injuries, I think Laval would be probably doing much better. Obviously, some of the players that they missed and have missed for quite a while has put them in the position that they are now, which is second in the North Division. But they, they have 2 games in hand on Rochester, and just trail them by 3 points. So that's the key, is to try to get that first overall, and it'll make their path a little bit easier. In terms of Montreal, expect some of those names, as Devin was saying. At some point, Montreal probably won't make the playoffs, and Laval should have a deep run, hopefully. And so in order for some of the players to qualify to go down, they'll have to list them as being sent down just on paper. So guys like obviously Beck, Dobesh, and I think maybe even Lane Hutson, if I'm not mistaken, it could still qualify. I'm
Yeah,
not
but
sure
you're not
about
going
that
to
one.
send Lane Arsenault there.
No, they won't.
Honestly.
They won't. But I
The
think
next one you talk
they'll
about,
put it on paper.
yeah, the
I
next
think
one
they'll
you
just
talk about is Jaden Swabble.
Strubble as well. Right. Yeah. So that their services can be rendered legit in order to join the team if they go on a long run. So and the experience, and that's what it's all about, right? The experience that they get in a long run in the playoffs is very valuable to them down the road in the long
Yeah.
run.
Great comment about that. We're going to move on, guys. We are at 10:12. We have a lot of great subjects, so we have to get back with other things. But the next thing, guys, is the clash. I think the clash is going to be very interesting for all of you and the people in the chat. And because I think in the clash, I'm talking about fun subject also at the same time. So really interesting. I'm going to start with Devin about that. You're going to like it. There are not many predictions, so I think we'll be very happy about that on that one. But I will start with Enrotap on that one. I apologize, Devin. Not because I don't like you, it's because Enrotap love that players. So here we go, Mr. Enrotap. Cook enemy over Kirby Dach.
Oh dear Lord, no, absolutely not, not at all.
Not at all. You're not going to like it.
Um,
Just very Cook enemy play most of the game
Coach,
with his
we
contract.
made him the turkey of the year one year in our awards. So it would be hypocritical of me to go back now and change that. So I still think it's a long road ahead for Doc. I don't know. I think they have their answer in terms of him maybe not being the 2C that they anticipated, but I still think he can be an effective winger for Montreal. or if they feel like he won't, then they'll let him walk. He doesn't have much left on his contract, to be honest with you. So we'll see what direction they take with that. But I will say not at all.
Devin.
I'll also not say not at all. As you know, I like Kirby Dach. Not at all. I mean, for me, I think Kirby Dach still has some runway in front of him. Obviously, it's going to depend on how he can recover from this second knee injury. But what I've seen from him as far as his ceiling and what his potential and capability is, I would take Kirby Dach. So not at all.
I'll surprise everyone here. I'm going with Kotkaniemi on that one. I think Kotkaniemi, first of all, have more points at Kirby Dach. Secondly, in the details of the game, Kotkaniemi is so much better. Face off is almost 60%. Is over 50%. I apologize on that one. Is defensively is so much responsible at Kirby Dach. If you put this all together, I would be surprised if you talk about the details. I think Kotkaniemi is better at Kirby Dach. I understand it's not a perfect situation for how Kotkaniemi left, but if you compare only both players, I have to be Kotkaniemi guys. Listen, Kotkaniemi guys, the last 4 years, 82 games, 79 games, is went out. We did not miss any game. I would like to Kotkaniemi produce more, absolutely. But compare both players, I have to go with Kotkaniemi on that one.
Helps to have a better team that you play with better players as well, and play a defensive structure like they do, though. In all
if
fairness.
you look about only Kotkaniemi, more responsible. He's been there since he played with Lika. He's been a really good defensive player. And all the players coming from there, Mr. Tap, their defensive zone is so much better. Armia came from that one. Kapanen. This is what they learn in Finland at that. So that's the reason behind that also. I would go with Kotkaniemi. Devin. Montreal Canadiens are better with Owen Beck over Kirby Dach at second line.
I'm going to say not at all. I think that they've been fine with Owen Beck. But I do also, keep in mind that, when the Canadiens played their best hockey of the year, they did it with Kirby Dach as the center on their second line, right? Kirby Dach was the center on the second line when they, went 13-3 after the Christmas break. So again, I don't know that they're better. I mean, Owen Beck has been steady. He's done, more than admirable job in replacing Kirby Dach over the last 3 games. But again, Owen Beck has 1 point, so far in the NHL. It's not like he's coming in and lighting the world on fire. I think he's done a great job of diminishing the impact of Kirby Dach's injury. He hasn't really, and I think that Newhook and Laine have stepped up, right? And you can attribute that, in some way, I guess, to Owen Beck. But am I prepared to say that they're better with Beck as the second line center? I'm going to say not at all. I don't think that Owen Beck is a second line player in the NHL. I don't think that's his ultimate destiny. But again, I think he's, he obviously has done a much better job than Michael Pezzetta did. When he got put on the second line earlier in the year. It's just, I just don't feel like I'm prepared to say that it's been better than it has been with Dach. When Dach was playing his best hockey of the year, that second line was doing pretty well. So I'm going to say not at all.
So in our tap, to be sure you understand question, Devin, it's not a bad question, but not a bad answer. But I will say to you, Montreal Canadiens right now, is it a better team with Owen Beck over Kirby Dach as a second line center?
So I don't think they are. Like I think.
I understand you're wrong, Devin. I just want to be sure in our time understand the question.
Yeah.
I think it's not fair for all of us to give a great answer because the 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 small you see from over Beck. Like if Beck play 40 game at Devin and Kirby Dach play 40 game, now you can compare both, right? But
Well,
at this moment,
it depends on which Kirby Dach are you getting, right? Are you getting the Kirby Dach that he's capable of being, or are you getting the Kirby Dach who is struggling and suffering and not playing his best hockey?
yeah. And after
Well, neither one right now fits the bill in terms of being the number 2C. Uh, I think we've seen what we have seen with Doc, and again, I think he could still have an effective role in Montreal, but I think as a winger, I find it difficult to see him as a 2C, especially when you're not winning at least 50% of your faceoffs, and that's just one aspect of the game. Now, when you look at the details, I mean, Beck does a lot of little things right. I think he thinks the game better than Doc does out there. I think he's a more natural center than Doc is. He definitely wins more faceoffs than Doc. But is Beck a 2C? I don't think so. Like, I think when you talk about a 2C, you have to have a player that could put up about 55 to 65 points in a year. And then you have an effective 1-2 punch down the middle. But he's in a Beck is the kind of player that can go in and like I said last week, he can be a great pinch hitter and go in there and he won't hurt you at 2C, but it's not something that you want to say, hey, we found our 2C here, because it's going to be a problem down the road.
so what do you answer after?
I don't know how to answer that. Habs better? Are they better with Beck over Doc right now? Yes, for obvious reasons. One's hurt and hasn't been playing well, and the other one, at least he's doing the little things right since he's come up. So I'll go absolutely.
See, Devin, how Inata is? He's like a policy. He take about 20 road to talk about the end of the answer. He could answer right away at the beginning, but he tried to explain to be sure he don't hurt anyone. He will be fine.
Hey,
Everything like that. Don't hurt
I have to
bad
explain my
feeling.
position, right?
But absolutely about that one over there. If you write that the way I asked you that question for me is absolutely. I think for me the chemistry is getting better between New Hook and Owen Beck. I think New Hook learned the way Beck play, and I like the way Owen Beck um, is doing right now.
Not a
But honestly,
coincidence.
both of them, I don't think they are the answer for the second line a long term for the Montreal Canadiens for sure. But for right now, I like Owen Beck over Kirby Dach. Again, it's a small package to look about this, but the overview. But I think right now is my answer on that one. Mr. Devin, this one, guys, you have a conversation with a subject. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper after that. But here's the deal. Here's the question. I like so far the clash. A lot of great conversation in the chat. Jake Evans, $4 million. Too much money to Montreal Canadiens. Are you agree or disagree, Devin?
If it's more than a year or two, yes. Would I sign Jake Evans to I mean, I know this isn't going to happen, but if he wanted $4 million and it was only for a year or 2 years, then I don't know that it's too much money. But if he's asking for more than that, then I think it is too much money. I don't know that I would pay him that kind of money. I think his value to the Montreal Canadiens is as a fourth liner. I don't think he brings the same value to the team if he's playing higher up the lineup. And I don't think you want to be paying your fourth liners $4 million a year, even with the cap going up. So, absolutely, I think that $4 million a year is too much money for Jake Evans. I wouldn't pay him. I don't think more than 3.5. If he's looking for more than 4 years term, I wouldn't. I wouldn't go above 3.5. So the answer is absolutely $4 million is too much for Jake Evans.
And after
Yeah, you know my position on this, Coach. I've been saying it all along. I love Evans, but I think 4 million is way overboard. So absolutely, and it's also the term that they're looking for. But you didn't mention that here. But just based on money alone, it's too much for a fourth line centerman.
I mean, the problem is he can probably get it somewhere else, right? So
Oh, that's fine. That's
yeah,
fine.
no, and that's and if you're saying is 4 million too much for Jake Evans, then the answer might be no because somebody will pay it. But is it too much for Montreal to pay him? I think the answer
Yeah.
is
Yes.
absolutely.
What is the offer for Ken Hughes and Enrotap with Devin? Do you know?
Well, what I'm hearing is 5 years, 4 million,
For how
20
much?
million in total. That's what I'm hearing. 4 million, 5 years.
For Jake Evans, but the Montreal Canadiens put him a contract on the table. Do you know what it
Oh,
is?
I don't know. I
I
haven't
haven't
heard
heard.
what that is.
Okay. So a lot of people in the chat talk about 500,000. It's not. Montreal Canadiens, the maximum from what I heard from Pierre Lebrun is a 4-year deal at $3 million.
That makes sense. That I would probably do.
So this is what we heard. And this is something it makes sense to me. So when you talk about an extra 500, it's not there. I think, and I don't know how they can do that, but I think a Jake Evans want to really send Montreal Canadiens. I think he needs to sign below at $3.5 million, whatever is four
So would
years
you
or 5 years. About that.
Yeah,
so
I
would you
agree.
Go ahead.
would you split the difference? So would you go 3.5 times four? Like, so if he wants 4 times 5, and the Canadians are offering 3 times 3, the difference would be 3.5. The middle ground would be 3.5 times 4, right?
Yeah.
Would you do
I think
that? I
Montreal
would do
looking
that.
between $12 million to $50 million. That's what's the key behind that. And Jake Evans looking more
Yeah.
between 16 to $20 million. Now he can get it outside, not in Montreal, but at some point can use the valuable number from Christian Boucher, everything like that at the end. Remember, guys, can you find a player like Jake Evans in the NHL on the PK?
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
They have. You can find PK in NHL.
Yeah.
A right center face off, we have already three of them. That's what he bring on the Montreal Canadiens. So the number to show on the table, he said, yeah, he played very well on the PK. We know that, I understand that. But still, it's many players can take his spot. Maybe not perfectly the same thing, but to pay a guys between $1 million to $4 million, a $3 million saving, Mr. Nartat, whatever they're increasing the money at the end of
That's
the day,
right.
guys, listen, we have to be smart. I would prefer to take that $3 million to give to another top six forward. We're helping the Montreal at long term. And that's what I see that. And I think that's the reason I would have said not more at $3 million for Jake Evans. At 3, 4 years, that's the maximum I can go. If not, look, we have to go somewhere else. And of course, I think we gave him that $4 million. But I can wait to see what will be the result of that at the end of the outcome of the contract. So, yeah, you can add more things about that first and after.
No, I agree. I mean, I'd be willing to go even an extra year for 5, but it would have to be at around 3. Like he's almost doubling. He's almost doubling his wages, right? His salary. And number one, number two, there comes a point where you have to ask yourself. Apparently, you know, his wife does not want to leave Montreal. He's happy here. He's developed with this team. You have to put a price tag on it and say, is this worth it for me to go somewhere else for whatever $500,000 extra a year? I don't know. It ultimately it's going to fall on his lap. I mean, the agents are there to try to get him the maximum, and Hughes is there to try to work within the structure of what he's trying to get accomplished. Uh, and do they meet in the middle somewhere? I don't know. I
I
just think I think you let him walk if he wants too much.
I have to believe, the more and more I hear about it, and even this conversation, the more I believe that it's gonna happen. I mean, I think you're right. He wants to be here, or he wants to be in Montreal. I think the Canadiens want him. As somebody who negotiates for a living, I can tell you that Kent Hughes at 3 times 3 or whatever, that's not his final offer. The Canadiens are not they haven't put their final foot forward yet. I wouldn't expect that Jake Evans has put his final foot forward yet. So the idea of them being able to, to split the difference and get to a number, that's somewhere like you say 3.5 times 4 years, I think is reasonable. Like you say, Jake Evans wants to be a part of this. All indications are that both sides want to make this happen. And the fact that it's gotten this far probably isn't a positive. But again, I saw, I do this for a living, and I don't, your things happen at the last minute, and when you're that close, and both parties want something to happen, it usually happens, right? If neither party was that interested in making a deal, and if Jake Evans was just a guy who wanted to go out and test the free agent market and get as much money as he could, I think these talks would have broken down a long time. But the fact that they're as close as they are, and again, maybe I'm going out on a limb here, but I do believe there's a really, really strong chance that they can get something done.
Devin, let me change the question a little bit. Suppose you're Hughes. Yeah. And right now you get offered a first for Evans, or you got Evans to agree to stay for $3 million for 4 years. Which of those two options do you take?
If I get him to agree to stay at $3 million for 4 years, I probably keep Jake Evans. Yeah, I probably keep him over a first-round draft pick. If I get a call tomorrow. If I get a call tomorrow from a team saying they'll offer me a first-round draft pick for Jake Evans, the first call I make is to his agent. And I say, hey, I've got an offer on the table for a first-round draft pick. We'd rather have you, but you know what our number is? We can probably bump it up to 3.25, and maybe we can give you another year. And we'll do 3.25 times 4. But at this point, I've got to do what's best for the team. We'd love to have you on the team, and but we've got a first-round draft pick on the, and so that you use that. That's what I would do. But if you're asking me which I would rather have, would I rather have a first-round draft pick or Jake Evans at $3 million for the next 4 years? I think I'd rather have Jake Evans.
Coach,
repeat, because now I'm typing for Jack Hughes. Just hit the board really badly right now. Okay. So could be a really bad injury.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Jack Hughes?
Yeah.
Wow.
Doesn't look good.
Okay, if the question was, if you're Hughes and you pretty much can get Evans to agree to come to stay with the team for 3 or 3.25 at the most for 4 years, and you also get a call from a team and says, I'll give you a first for Evans, which of those two choices do you take?
That's a good question, because now you can consider both ways. I'm going to answer at the Enrotap right now. I will not do anything. I'm going to keep Jake Evans until to the end of the season. I will see the meaningful game I play, and that would be more benefit for the Montreal Canadiens. And then after the season, I'm going to see what is the outcome of Owen Beck. If Owen Beck did a great game for the Montreal Canadiens, obviously I let go Jake Evans.
Yeah.
So maybe not the right answer for your question, but I think that's the way I see that overall for the Montreal Canadiens. So I have to move on for the next question, guys. The next question is very interesting in that chat, guys.
Yes.
Alex Petrangelo did the right decision to skip the Four Nations. Now, Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk play for the Team USA. They start the game with fight, everything like that. And then after that, they got hurt. Then they are now returned with their team. Possible Tkachuk Matthew will be out for the rest of the season. What was the right decision, do you think, for Alex Petrangelo? What he did is the right decision. Skip it versus the Four Nations. So in our tap, I think it's your turn to start with that one.
Look, it's hard to say because you don't know the severity of whatever injuries or aches that Petrangelo had going into the situation. I mean, first and foremost, you have to look at the fact that it's the team that pays your salary, and as an owner, I would want him if he's not 100% or even close to it. I don't want him to necessarily go, but I understand obviously the aspect of representing your country and going. I think Petrangelo's probably thought forward and thought the Olympics is a bigger component for me to be at that rather than in this particular situation. Had he been healthy, he obviously goes 100%. But I'm going to say absolutely did the right thing to skip it.
Devin.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think at the end of the day, I think, it was his decision and he made it. So in that sense, it's the right decision, right? I don't think any of us knows what was going on with his health and what, realistically the details of why he decided to skip it. Marco makes a great point in the chat. He made a good decision in the sense that, Shea Theodore got hurt and, if they were both out, then that certainly would be a big problem for Vegas.
Canada.
So again, yeah. So again, I don't know enough about what was going on with his health that led him to the decision to skip it. But again, for him, if he felt strongly enough about sitting out to do that, then to me that's the right decision. It's his decision to make. Obviously, the team might play a bit of a part in it, but so yeah. So I mean, I think in that sense, it's the right decision. Would it? I don't think he should have gone to the Four Nations face-off and played through an injury. I don't think that would have been the right decision. So I guess the answer is absolutely it was the right decision for him.
Yeah, it makes sense when you think about the decision about that, right? It's when you talk about the right decision, keep it versus the catch hook, right? That's the age of Petrangelo is another factor, I think. Honestly, we don't know exactly what it was bother him, but at the end of the day, it's a great situation for Petrangelo. By the way, guys, the catch hook season hurt their team. Obviously, some people in Ottawa is upset because now Brady said he played with Team USA injured. Now he's back with Ottawa. He does not play with injuries. Everything like that. That's the concern for the fans. Everything like this. But I'll be
He
honest
played
with you.
last game, didn't he?
What?
He played last game. Brady Kachuk played last game.
Yeah. But again,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, guys, the Ketchuk sell hockey in USA. Like you have no
Absolutely.
clue how in USA how they pursue, how they see them. One more, Mr. Natap, for Devin first time. A long term, Montreal Canadiens keep Kirby Dach.
Well, they definitely keep him through to the end of his contract. I think again, I think it's going to be difficult for him to come back, from a second knee surgery on the same knee. I think that's going to be difficult. But again, at this point, I don't think that there's a whole lot of trade value for him. So it's not like you're going to go and trade him for a first round draft pick or get a great return for him. Um, do I think they're going to put him on waivers? Do I think they're going to uh, you know get rid of him? I don't. I think they'll give him an opportunity. I think the thing with Kirby Dach that a lot of people forget about is that there was a time, and the Canadiens have had the opportunity to see Kirby Dach be a spectacular hockey player, right? And that's the reason why it's not an easy decision to just move on from Kirby Dach, right? At the end of not last season, but the season before, Kirby Dach was playing amazing hockey. He was one of the best players, if not the best player on the team, right? He was around a point per game for the last 20 or so games of that season. He then came back the next year and had a spectacular training camp to the point where people were talking about whether or not he should be the first line center over Nick Suzuki, right? That's what the Canadiens have seen from this kid, and that's what they know he's capable of. And that's why I think it's hard for them to just say, we'll just move on from him and we'll bring somebody else in and to take his place. So I do think that they will give him that opportunity. I don't think that they'll, if at the end of his contract, he still hasn't returned to that form. I think that I think they'll approach him and say, listen, you can be on this team, but you might have to be in a different role, and we're going to pay you a hell of a lot less money. So the decision's yours. You can go and explore free agency, or you can, take a pay cut and see if you can become, a third or fourth liner the way, Josh Anderson did, or whatever. But again, I do think that the Canadiens are going to give Kirby Dach every opportunity to return to that form he had at the beginning of last season, I guess. And again, a lot of people forget about that, and I know it's easy to forget about that because of the way he's played this year. And I'm not making excuses for the way he played this year, but again, they have seen what he's able to do, and they are salivating at the idea that they could have that player again. Whether that's an unrealistic expectation, I don't know. But again, it's not like he's a guy who's never done it before. It's not like he's a guy who they're hoping can, live up to the way he played when he was in midget hockey or whatever. It's about what they saw from him when he first came to the Montreal Canadiens. And that is the reason why I think they will give him a chance, at least to play out, the end of his contract. And so I guess depending on what you mean by long term, I will say absolutely. I think the Montreal Canadiens will give Kirby Dach every possible opportunity to prove himself and to return to the form that he had at the beginning of last season before he got hurt the first time.
It won't be, in my opinion, at the 2C position. I think when you base it on what we've seen in terms of his production and what we've seen in terms of the injuries and the severity of the injuries, I think that evaluation period is probably, well, that question's been answered now. I truly don't, and again, that's me. I truly don't believe he will be the 2C on the team. If he's going to be effective, and if he's going, like, I agree with you, Devin, that it's going to be hard to move his contract at this stage. So he probably stays to the end of the contract. But, you have to do something where you reinvent what he has to do out there. And that, to me, I think he's a better and more effective winger than a centerman, and where he doesn't have to think the game as much. The responsibilities are less. He doesn't have to worry about faceoffs. And he's got the size to be a solid winger. And then once that contract is up, then they make a decision based on how he's been evaluated as a winger for Montreal. So
yeah, and I agree with that.
I don't.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that obviously they're going to have to replace him. They're going to have to find somebody to take his spot. Certainly between now and the end of this year, and even going into next season, I think they're going to have to find somebody who can take on that role. And he's going to have to go to camp and prove it, right? Like if he goes to camp and plays the way at camp next year that he did, not this year but the year before, then I think he probably will get a chance at that second line spot. But I do think they'll give him a chance. They'll give him a chance to come back from this injury, and they'll give him a chance to to return to that form when he was again, he was the best player on the Montreal Canadiens for a quarter of a season and an entire training camp, right? And again, a lot of people are not recalling that, and it's fact. It's not I'm not making it up because I like the kid. There was a time not so long ago where the conversation was, is Nick Suzuki really a number one center, and should Kirby Dach be the guy to play that role? Now, I get that he hasn't done anything to back that argument up, since then, but that was the conversation that was being had at one time. And so again, he doesn't, I think they're going to find somebody. They're going to find another alternative at 2C. I don't deny that. I mean, I think that's obvious. They have to. Because he hasn't, the amount of time it's been since he's played at that level has been too long. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. I mean, how he comes back from this second knee injury obviously will be the biggest factor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Montreal Canadiens, the way I see that, this value will be low next season. He's going to be RFA. Don't be surprised he resign with the Montreal Canadiens for a 1 year deal or 2 year deal after that, at lower cost to prove himself. That reminded me the story of Sean Monahan for me, for prove he can play. And then after that, get a bigger contract. That would be my suggestion or my prediction about that. Expect him to become more a winger as a center on the third line for the Montreal Canadiens for the next 2 years. That's what I see that too. Thirdly, Montreal Canadiens guys are going to lose Kirby Dach, center number 2, Christian Dvorak, center number 3, and Jake Evans, possible center number 4. So Montreal Canadiens have to rebuild the center line at some point, and honestly, to find a second center number 2. My question is this part for both of you: that if you don't go on UFA, you have to go on the trade. What would be your biggest asset to trade to get a center for the Montreal Canadiens right now? Now you can set even Demidab, but we know he's not going to trade even Demidab. So if you have to materialize a trade today to get a second center, people like players we talk about, maybe a Dylan Carlson, maybe a Mason McDavid, maybe a Trevor Zegras, Matthew Bernier, and I can go all the way. You understand what I'm talking about, right? So what
Yeah.
it would be an asset Montreal has right now? We said, you know what? I'm willing to trade that players.
Well, I think their biggest asset is, their draft picks. I mean, they've got a huge store of draft picks coming up in the next several years. So, I mean, they could put a package of draft picks together to get just about anybody, I think. Like, I mean, is there anybody out there that you think they should be considering that would be worth more than, a couple of first round draft picks or a first and a second round draft pick? Like, I don't know that any of the players that we're talking about would be worth more than that. Like, the most valuable guy that I think is being talked about is probably Sam Bennett. Could you
Now,
get
Sam
Sam
Bennett is
Bennett?
UFA, so you're not going to make that
Right.
possible.
Fair. Yeah. But I mean, what kind of a player, like, what kind of player would you be getting for 2 first round draft picks? I mean,
Logan Mailloux,
Yeah.
that would be my first player I'm
yeah,
thinking
no,
about. So for
He'd
me,
be
it's
in the
Logan
conversation.
Mailloux, following by a first round pick, package deal like that. That would be interesting to get a second there. And I have to put Kirby Dach on that situation too. Now, Kirby Dach is not going to bring you a player like 1-to-1, but a package there with Kirby Dach, Joshua Roy, Logan Mailloux are
yeah.
really the player I'm thinking about for the Montreal Canadiens to get something in return. Of course, the first round pick for Montreal or the first round pick of the Flame 2025 could open in there.
Right. But
I don't
none
know
of those
what would be
players.
the call to get back Raquel from the Pittsburgh Penguins, a little bit inferior, a little bit older, 5 years contract for a couple of years, and maybe a first round pick for the Montreal Canadiens, and maybe could be that together could make trade for that kind of players. But I think Logan Mailloux is the highest number 1 for me to get something in return.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, to me, I don't see Logan Mailloux right now being as valuable as a first round draft pick. Certainly not a first round draft pick in the top 20. But yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, if you're looking at established players that would be on the market, I think you're looking at, you're looking at Mailloux, you're looking at Roy, you're looking at, maybe Engstrom, you're looking at, some of those. I don't know if I would call them second tier prospects, but certainly from a Canadian's perspective, they're on the second tier, right? They're below Demidov, they're below Fowler, they're below Hage at this stage, right? Those are guys who would be in the second tier of the Montreal Canadiens prospects. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have any problem losing any of those guys. I mean, if you're getting the right guy in return. I mean, I'm not sure about signing guys who are in their 30s, frankly, but if you're bringing in a Sam Bennett or you're bringing in even I mean, I think you could probably get Trevor Zegras for cheaper than that, but I don't I don't have a problem. To me, my biggest issue is moving on from prospects who haven't had an opportunity yet to prove themselves at the NHL level. And I think that Mayu and Roy have both had that opportunity. That's not to say that I'm giving up on them and I don't think that they can develop into good NHLers. It's just that if you traded them now, it wouldn't be like you would say, "Oh, well, we quit on those guys before they had a chance," right? If you traded, Adam Engstrom, or if you traded, Ivan Demidov, which you're not going to do, or Michael Hage, it would be you're trading them before you know what their real value is.
But at some point, if you want to have a player like they're looking for, you have to make those kind of steps.
Yeah.
The other player you to go is maybe trade Cole Caufield or to trade Nick Suzuki or trade Juraj Sakaski. The player are
But
established in NHL.
but I don't think that's the plan for this team. I
No.
think the plan for this team is to do everything
I
they
was just saying the
can.
plan. I was just saying so to you. Like at some point,
Yeah.
if you have to go forward, you have to wait for Logan Mailloux to be on the NHL to see what he look like. But
No, I'm saying the opposite of that.
but
I'm saying
if
I'm
he's
saying
going
that
to, David, think about this. If he play with Montreal for 1 year and he does not looking good, his value is not going to be regressing on what he look like right now.
no, I think you misunderstood me. What I'm saying is that I wouldn't have a problem with Mayu because I do feel that he has had an opportunity to show what he can do at the NHL level, right? I think he's different than Michael Hage, for example, right? Michael Hage, we still don't know. Michael Hage could turn out to be the next Steve Yzerman. Like we don't know. Like we haven't had the opportunity to see that from him. Whereas Logan Mayu, while I still think there's room for him to develop, we at least he at least has had the chance, right? He's been given a chance, and we know that you know he could be an NHL he could be an NHL defenseman someday, but he's not going to be a superstar. He's going to be a second pairing defenseman at best or whatever. Like he's had the opportunity. Whereas if you quit on a Michael Hage at the age of 18 when he's still in Michigan, you're quitting on a guy who still could be amazing. Joshua Roy has already had a chance at the NHL level and has proven that, Lane Hutson has proved it at the NHL level, which is why he's not going to go anywhere, right? So I think those guys, I don't have as much of a problem with trading them as I would, with Jacob Fowler, for example.
Yeah, but like Roy talk about to trade Montembeau. If you trade Montembeau, now you open a spot, you make a hole, and you line up. It makes sense. Like if you trade
Yeah.
a Suzuki
Holy
You have
example,
to
moly.
you make a
you have
hole
to
and you
deal
line up,
from
right?
strength.
So a Mayu is not going to make a big hole. They still have David Rebecca. Now, of course, the RAHD. Then you have to go on the left side. Are they going to trade Jekai for that kind of center? They pay the price there. I don't know. But this is a hot summer for Ken Hughes. This is where I
It
believe
is.
Montreal Canadiens. Now people can complain about Ken Hughes. Listen, guys, this going happening, and you gamble right there. You try to make a trade. You thinking that player is going to become the good solid player. It turn around to be wrong, and that's. But you have to reset. They did with Justin Barron. This is a good example, Devin. Like Justin Barron right there. He tried to cut what 2 years with the Montreal Canadiens, tried to make the team, got caught, he come back. But we are lucky to get Alex Carrier in return. Right?
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
I think it's good. So again, I just opened the door for an asset for the Montreal Canadiens, but this is going to be a really, really, really hot summer for Ken Hughes and Montreal Canadiens because they are filled up. Now, even Dimitar's coming. So they have to figure out who's going to be the center number 2 with that. They're going to go through the league. Everything at the end of the year, guys, say
Yeah.
Briard, he does this, and he is a coach, goalie coach, and he said, look, we have a homework after the season. He said the first 30 days, we have to go through all the goalies in NHL to see clips, to see the shot, to see who can helping it was that time was working with the Leaf. So my point is like Montreal Canadiens with the staff they have, they're going to figure out which center number 2 or any center could help in the Montreal Canadiens and what kind of deal they can make with that team. It's not about a player that's not work right now to make it. I think Montreal going to be looking what kind of player they can fit in the system and the play they're looking for to play with Patrick Laine and even the middle. But it's not Alex Newhook, it's not Owen Beck, it's not
No.
Kapanen. They have to find a way to fit
Yeah.
to find a second center in NHL. That's the borderline at the end. Devin, Devin in our tap.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
And
You know what?
I don't. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Enrotap.
No, finish your sentence. I'll fill
No,
in
I
after.
was going to say I agree with you completely. I think they do need to fill that spot, and they've it's a clear hole in the lineup, and they're going to have to fill it. Whether they're going to go out and sign a guy who's going to be a superstar, or whether they're going to try and get a guy who whether they're going to get Ryan Donato or are they going to try and get Sam Bennett. Like there's a big difference there between those two guys, and it depends on what their plan is. And you're right, it's there doesn't appear to be somebody within the organization that is poised to take on that role anytime soon. And if it were, I think the situation would be really different. If they had, if Michael Hage was 3 years further along in his development, then maybe you're not as worried about it. But I think you're right. They're going to have to do something.
Yeah, make no mistake about it, Coach. Like, they're going to address it this summer. They're going to bring in somebody that's a 2C. Now, is it a 2C that will be there for the long run? Or maybe they might take the approach, can we get somebody who has maybe 2 or 3 years left on his contract?
Raquel, example, like N26 talk about Ricard Raquel is a good one with them.
Raquel is one of them, obviously. Another name that comes to me, I know he's playing left wing right now in Seattle, but he's also played center in the past, and he's left-handed, and he's got size, and he produces every year. Jarrett McCann. He can easily come in for 2-3 years until maybe a Hage is ready or something better comes up on the free agency that you and he wouldn't be a project. You know what you're getting with a guy like McCann. And same thing with Raquel. I agree with that assessment as well. So definitely they'll do something, and it won't be a project. They won't bring another project at that position. The risk is too high at this stage.
Trevor Zegras.
Zegras is a project to me. I'm afraid that, and I don't know. I've seen us play, Devin. I don't doubt he has the skills. I see a player that's a bit timid. Every time somebody comes close to him, he's getting rid of the puck quickly. He's afraid of contact, from what I see, and I don't think he fits that prototypical 2C position for me. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. I
get your point, and I don't know that I would go as far as to call him a project. I would agree with you that he's not as much of a sure thing as some of the other names that are being mentioned. What intrigues me about him is I think his tool set is incredible, and I think that his biggest issues right now have less to do with himself and more to do with the situation he finds himself in. He's in a situation where he has a manager and a coach who have completely different philosophies to the way he plays hockey. I love the idea that he and Cole Caufield are best friends. I love the idea that he was a very good defensive hockey player prior to coming to the NHL. He has all of those abilities. I don't think he's going to be a physical player. I don't think, I don't disagree with you on that. But I do think that the idea of Trevor Zegras and, potentially having a coach like Marty St. Louis unlock what he has in his, inside of him, to me is, but again, him being the 2C is a different scenario.
Now, if you think about him, he looked like, for me, and a player play like him is Logan Cooley. Like it's the same kind of style of player they play when they play in the NHL. Zegras, he been in NHL, 0.5 point per game, 6', 185. Now you're going to add a player with no grits, because if you think about this, guys, on the top 6, what is missing the most? Or the fact you have a center, but what kind of center are you looking for? What will bring? So for me, I need physicality. I need a sandpaper, grit. When you battle, play hard. That would be the player I'm looking for. At a skilled player like that. They are not easy to find, of course, right? Or you bring a Zegras, it's another copy, photocopy of what Caufield is, Suzuki is. Dimitrov is not going to be physical. Lenny is not physical.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you need another kind of prototype player like this. Mason McDavis is a kind of player can be that way. And if I have to pay the price, I have to go with under 30 years old. So I don't think so. McCann and Raquel is the right answer. They have to find a player between 22 years old to 26 years old. They're going to pay the price for something they really believe is going to help in the Montreal Canadiens at long term. It's
What do you guys think of
a
Ryan
lot of work to
Donato?
do there.
Does Ryan Donato make any sense to you guys? I'll tell you. I mean, again, he's young. He's got 40 points this year already on a bad team. Albeit he has played, at times with Connor Bedard. He's making $2 million. So he'd be relatively cheap. I don't know that he's the long-term solution, but he could be, right, if he shows up
You
and
talk about Raquel?
better
No,
than
Ryan
Raquel.
Donato.
What?
He's talking about Ryan Donato. I'm not 100%
Well, no,
sold
he's
on
35
him.
years old. You're not going to helping them.
No, Ryan Donato.
Donato. Yeah,
Rand Donato?
he's 28. He's 28.
Yeah, 28.
Yeah, but you're going to get another bottom six. It's not going to help in Montreal Canadiens.
Well, he's got 40 points this year. He's got more points than Bo Horvat. Like he's got
but
more
think
points.
about this, Devin. From Boston, he traveled every year. He joined the team every year.
Yeah.
So he's not a kind of player. So like, if you want to talk about a player I was looking for me,
You have to, coach.
I'm going to give you a name right there. It will cost you a lot. But Jordan Kyrou for the St. Louis Blues will be a player I was looking for. I think Jordan Kyrou at 6'1", at 200 pounds. Look, 48 points this year, 24 game, 24 goals this season. Last year, he has 31 goals, 37 goals, 27 goals. That will cost you a lot.
Yeah.
But if you
That's okay.
you have to pay the price to get something at top six at long term, is what, 20? He's 26 years old.
Yeah.
Right?
Would you pay Jordan Kyrou more money than Nick Suzuki?
No. But if the contract is already made, it is what it is. You don't have no choice.
What's his contract situation? I don't know. What's
I think it's 8 points, something like Robert Thomas.
He might be just under. He might be under. But the point of the matter is, how many years have we been searching down the middle?
It's 8.1, Mr. Nata.
And 6 years left on his contract.
Yeah.
But the cost would be there. You would talk a first round pick,
but that's
Logan
okay.
Mailloux, and something else.
That's okay. You right now have those assets, so you might even have to overpay. That's not the issue. The issue is, for how many years have we been seeking strength down the middle, centerman wise, and we haven't found it. You could say, okay, Suzuki's there, and he'll be your number 1C, but to be effective, you have to have an equally strong 2C player, and that second line has to produce a heck of a lot more than what they're producing right now. So again, you can't take a project player. You have to go after somebody, and you've built these assets. You have now tangibles to deal with, whether it's picks, whether it's prospects, whether it's even somebody that's currently on the team. If you have to overpay a little bit and you're getting something that will solve your problem for 7-8 years, then you do it. Pay the price.
I don't disagree with that. I just don't know that is. I don't know that is the plan. Like, I don't know that is the philosophy of the team right now.
But that's why I think they'll take the time. Like, if they can get somebody that just fills in the gap, like an interim 2C that is a person you can rely on for maybe 2-3 years max, that's it. Then you have more answers along the way. You might say, well, look at this, Hage is really coming along really well, and he's going to fit seamlessly into that position. Or you go after a free agent at that point.
and that's why I bring up somebody like Donato, right? Like, so instead of committing to a Sam Bennett who's going to want an 8-year contract, or to, somebody who's going to be, your permanent 2C, do you bring in a guy who's going to be around for 2 or 3 years, and then, focus on the draft and trying to bring somebody in, because this year you're going to have 2 first-round draft picks. Do you focus on trying to get that big centerman who can play that role, and have a guy like Donato, or whoever, like somebody who's maybe not like, even like a Casey Middlestad or somebody like that, who comes in and plays that role for 2 or 3 years until you can bring in somebody from inside the organization to play that spot.
Yeah, but like if you have Randall Donato, guys, I prefer Owen Beck. I want Kapanen. I want Florent Jekai.
Yeah.
I want Michael Edge. I want to build from the inside, not for a guy from outside. He scored 21 goals this year, but 12, 13, 14, 15. He has 30 points, 27 points, 31 points. It's not what we're looking for. We need to get better. We need to improve.
No, and I agree with you completely. He's not, he's not the same answer. He's not the same level of a Jordan Kyrou. He's not at the level of those guys. But again, it's like, is Ryan Donato going to give you more than what Kirby Dach has given the team so far this year? Maybe. Is he going to hold that place until Michael Hage is ready to go, or until whoever they draft in this summer's draft? Again, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that there's different approaches, right? And again, I'm not saying that that's what they should do.
People in the chat talk Devin, maybe the center is inside the Montreal Canadiens. Is it Sakowski testing him? Is it that Demidov center?
Yeah.
If you want to go through the process right now for 1 year and put Dimitrov center, Dach winger, and Patrick Laine at the beginning of the season, and then you have Newhook can fit your third center there, could be the answer there, and not to spend all your assets to trade to make another player there. Now they can get a 35 years old for 1 year, Yanni Gourds, but I don't think so. I think Montreal should bring insight, but can you have the right answer? I trust Can Hughes. I feel they're going to make mistakes sometime. It's obviously what happened to Kirby Dach. And they make a gamble. They thought he's going to be that center they're looking for. At the beginning, guys, he was a 6'4", 200 pounds. He was fit there. But it's happening.
Yeah,
Injuries happened to Sean Monahan. It's happened to Jake Evans. And everyone, Jack Hughes again.
Yeah.
So
Sean Farrell. How about Sean Farrell?
Sean Farrell now. Sean Farrell plays a solid hockey right now. He is on fire. So, look, the time we tell us we don't have the right answer tonight, but I think it was great to sharing all the information about Montreal. We did a little bit longer, guys. Is what worth it. We are almost at 80%, 80 likes tonight. So the point behind that, guys, the fans are eager to figure out about Montreal Canadiens. The most important thing, guys, that before we leave, we have to do the Bible, Mr. Enrotap. We have to go back there because we had some winner last week, Mr. Enrotap, on that preview of the Montreal Canadiens, what we do every time with Devin and Mr. Enrotap. The preview of Montreal Canadiens is Buffalo at home Monday, Edmonton at Thursday, and Saturday again Calgary Flame. Last week, Mr. Enrotap, we have some winner.
Who won?
We have to N26. Everybody was laughing at him with 6 points. He got it.
No.
We are LD. No, we have a RD. I don't know what is RD, Mr. Enrotap, but that's right for the one is RD. And then we have Billy did it 6 point call last week, Mr. Enrotap.
All right, Billy.
Billy did it for the Montreal Canadiens. So now it's your time for preview. LD, I don't know exactly, Mr. Enrotap. I cannot record it. The RD. So if you're RD right now, and not RDP, but RDP predict only 2 points. It was predict Buffalo beat the Montreal Canadiens. So I exclude right away there, Mr. Enrotap, RDP.
Okay.
So, Devin, you're going to be on the nuts on that one.
I went first last week if you want to go first, Enrotap, but it's up to you.
Go ahead. You could go first. That's fine. We were both wrong anyway, so.
We were. I think I said 5.
Yeah, 5-4-3.
Yeah. I am going to say 4 points.
4 point.
Yeah.
All right. Pete Martin go with 3. 4 for Abination. Claude Richard with 4. And Artap.
Okay, none of these are back to back. 2 are away. I'm going to go with 5. 5 points.
5 point.
Yes.
You guys on fire. Francois Pitt go with 5.
Attaboy, Francois.
Antoine go with 6. I stuck with my 3. I have no choice. I go with 3 on that one for sure. You know. LDB go with 2 points. AJ go with 6 points.
Yeah, against Buffalo, maybe.
You guys, you thinking we're going to beat Edmonton?
Is Edmonton playing well lately?
We shut them out
Not
last
really.
time. We shut them out last time. I hate that. The Canadiens shut them out. Sorry.
For the benefit.
I didn't play in the game at all. I wasn't on the ice for 1 minute, so I didn't do anything.
We were
for the
there
benefit,
mentally,
guys, for the Montreal Canadiens next week against Calgary. What will be the best for the Montreal Canadiens?
That's a good question. Ideally, I say you would want Calgary to lose that game. You want to make those 2 picks as close as possible, probably, that you have. Right now, it's a good thing that Calgary hasn't performed very well for Montreal. That improves the positioning for them with that draft pick. So Montreal should win that, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see what's happening about that for sure for everyone about this one there. But with that, it's an tap and so Devin, we go through 11. Time to go. I'm hungry. I'm starving, Mr. Tap. Time to get some food here in Thailand.
I'm sleepy.
It's getting hot, Mr. Tap. It's getting hot. 90 degrees, 89, 90 degrees, humid. But it is what it is. We enjoy the weather in Thailand. Guys, what a great night tonight. I think Luc Laporcin is right. Why not another time against Calgary Flame about that one there. A2, I give you 3 points. So it is what it is, Mr. A2. I got that one there. That's it. We want to thank the moderator tonight, Luciano. We want to thank RG Calabo. Did great content tonight. And all the people click on the likes. This is a record. 80 likes for the AB Weekly Report. So it'd be easy to tell you it was because of me, but it's not because the co-hosts. We have excellent co-hosts every time we show up here because they bring some great content, and of course they are like this.
You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you.
That's it. That's all on an amazing, great week. Possible I see you. I don't know, Devin, you ready for Friday to be with me, with us Friday for the, because it's...
I will be in Cape Breton on Friday. I will be driving. Hopefully, if you go on the air at the regular time, I should be there in time, but I'll let you know.
You're welcome anytime, my friend. And don't forget to follow Devin on his regular channel after the game every Montreal Canadiens. This is the place to talk about the Montreal. If you want to talk about this, we want to thank many people in the chat, guys. Luc Laporcin go with 3 Mr. Tap. He finally decided to go there. It was a fun thing with the dice. He was not sure what to do. And then he grabbed this. 3 points for the Montreal Canadiens. That's all, my friend. Be well, be healthy. Find a way not only to dominate your dream, but find a way to dominate the first half of what? Go with Devin on that night.
20-25.
He did it again. You appreciate a lot. We wish you an amazing, great night for both of you. A great week. I can see see you next time. Until then, don't forget we'll be back tomorrow night for the game of Montreal Canadiens versus the Buffalo Sabres. I expect some fireworks. Wish you an amazing, great night. Thanks again, Mr. Enrotap and Devin. Have a good night.
Good night, Hockey Nation. Good night, gentlemen. Always a pleasure.
Thanks so much, my friend. Again, that way over there. That was a great show. We want to thank also Larry Lavallée on the super chat tonight. Thanks so much, Larry Lavallée. Again, a big supporter. Ali, have a good night. LDP, always a pleasure. Rain, so many people, guys. What a great night. It's helping the channel to grow properly the right way. We're missing less than 100 to get the 9,000. And we'll see what's happening about that. Look at Hutson, of course. Have a good night. Oh. It's coming. It's coming. Booyah. Good night, everybody.